Слава Україні! Дякуємо нашим колегам із Києва за марафон «Єдині новини». Повертаємося до студії телеканалу «Перший Західний», до радіо «Перше». Тут ви отримаєте більше інформації не лише про Україну, не лише про ті області, де зараз точаться найактивніші бої, а також і про наш рідний Львівський регіон. Ярина Капітан, Станіслав Безушко, будемо з вами сьогодні вже десяту добу працювати, повідомляти вам найоперативніше, найактуальніше. І не можемо собі не дозволити відзвітувати за міністра оборони. 10-й день опору російським терористам, 10-й день, каже він, мужності Збройних Сил. Якщо говорити про наші позиції, то, за словами міністра оборони, найуразливішим є сьогодні українське небо, і тому і президент України, і наші урядовці вкотре звертаються до європейських партнерів про закриття українського неба, щоб агресор не міг застосовувати свій повітряний ракетний потенціал. Каже Резніков, що захоплюється силою українців у Маріуполі, Волновасі, Харкові, Чернігові, Миколаєві, Херсоні та всіх інших містах, де наразі найважче мужність наших людей, за словами міністра оборони, вражає. Ми працюємо над запровадженням режиму тиші і відкриттям гуманітарних коридорів. Ворог не знає, що таке цінність людського життя. Ми зробимо усе для допомоги нашим громадянам. І ми цю цінність людського життя, яку проявляють з боку українського боку, спостерігаємо щодня і бачимо, як російський ворог навіть не дотримується тих домовленостей, які були досягнуті під час останніх перемовин другого раунду перемовин між російською і українською стороною. Що стосується поточної ситуації по напрямках, то Збройні Сили України контролюють ситуацію, тримають рубежі, переходять в контрнаступ, відтіснюють ворога. Основні сили зусилля окупантів зосереджуються на оточенні Києва і послабленні спротиву блокованих ними населених пунктах. На Волинському напрямку, до речі, питали нас вчора наші глядачі, на Волинському напрямку положення наших військ без суттєвих змін. На Сіверському напрямку Чернігів здійснює героїчну оборону. Українські війська утримують там позиції на зайнятих рубежах. На Слобожанському напрямку українські військові продовжують ведення бойових оборонних боїв. Також об'єднані сили ведуть оборонну операцію, як і раніше, силами двох оперативно-тактичних угрупувань. Повітряні сили здійснюють відбиття повітряних ударів противника. Втрати особового складу ворога зростають. Щойно ми чули, наші колеги повідомляли про близько 10 тисяч осіб. Боротьба триває, але українці в усіх містах чітко дають зрозуміти, що Росії тут ніколи не чекали. І вчорашній мітинг у Херсоні, який влаштували українці, на противагу мітингу, який хотіли влаштувати росіяни, завіз сюди мешканців із Криму і з бажанням влаштувати яскраву картинку для своїх медіа. Не вдалося їм цього зробити. Українці швидше вийшли з українськими паспортами, прапорами і паспортами, очевидно, також з українськими прапорами, і показали ворогу, що в нині гуманітарних подачок в лапках їхніх не хочуть ні їхньої влади, ні їхньої присутності в Херсоні.
Це якраз, напевно, ключова те, що відмовились від харчів, які привезли, чітко показали, що цього брати не будуть, незважаючи на те, що там є проблеми з доставкою їжі, хліба, води, але люди все одно відмовились від цього, продовжуючи втрати, говорив особовий склад понад 10 тисяч, по факту немає точної цифри, звісно, постійно оновлюється, цифра 10 тисяч, насправді ще два дні тому озвучив секретар національної безпеки та оборони Данілов, але розуміємо, що одна річ розуміти, скільки приблизно було втрачено, або точно порахувати.
Danila. Definitely it's difficult to count the losses, but in the very Russia they state that there was a group of 100 persons who entered the territory of Ukraine and only 4 were alive after the battle. Means that they already are aware of losses. Russia has lost more than 10,000 personnel, more than 269 tanks, armored vehicles, 945 artillery system 105, are the air defense missile system 50 units, air defense units 19, 39 airplanes, 40 helicopters, vehicles 409, are speedboats 2 units, fuel tanks 60, unmanned aviation flights up about 10. In Odessa, the shore air defense is active. We see the naval infantry on, and therefore the enemy cannot land on the shore. Yesterday in Hostomel, the special forces of the main Chief Department of Intelligence destroyed 20 units. These were mainly the armored vehicles, and there are good news from Volnovakh and Melitopol, and the enemy agreed to organize green corridors and to deliver their humanitarian aid. So we didn't have any connection with Mariupol, and we do hope that we'll be able to take people from Mariupol, at least those who want to leave the city. We understand that there are lots of people who wanted to stay there. There are about 3,000 people who are still in the city, which is fully destroyed without any necessities. So if you want to buy some food, you may use online bank card. Use it, please. Just check where there are any shops, how they are working. Some of them have very fixed hours, operational hours, and the end of their working day depends on the curfew. In Lviv, we have a special center for men who came from the other regions, for them to register as part of military units. They are assisted with registration with documents, and there is the order of the military and civil administration that all the men who arrive at the territory of our region have to register. You know that during night I have my own hobby. I'm trying to trace the corporations and companies leaving Russia, and I'm trying to understand how they activate the sanctions against Russia. And I liked very much the address of the Ministry of the Russian Federation, that they threaten sanctions for Apple, because in Apple Maps, Apple renamed the Ministry of Defense of Russia into Ministry of Fascism, and the Ministry of Defense of Russia stated that it's against their rules. So we would like to remind the Ministry of Defense of Russia that Apple has left the Russian market, and therefore whatever threats the Ministry of Defense is posing, they won't listen to this. So if you go to if you would like to find the Ministry of Defense on the map, it will be called the Ministry of Fascism. There is the flash mob there with that letter, and probably there was the order that the heads of different regions should show that they support the Russian army, the Russian Federation, and actually all the Russians state that we can survive without any products, and now we see that people leave Russia, people go to Turkey, and actually there is very big outflow of people from Russia. Samsung Corporation stated that they stopped their supplies to Russian Federation, and apart from doing this, they also gave $6 million to Ukraine. $1 million will be given to the technological issues, and lots will be done for the refugees,
for the displaced people who leave the territory of Ukraine. Talking about support and companies, Elon Musk, the founder of SpaceX, expressed his support to Ukraine. However, there were only 2 words he wrote in Twitter: Ukraine, keep fighting. And also he expressed his condolences to the people in Russia who are against the war of Russia against Ukraine. And some more good news. Our Ukrainian people during the first Paralympics won 3 medals. The Paralympic athletes probably are the only athletes I'm trying to follow. I know some of them personally. They are people who motivate us. Yesterday there was an address of Andriy Demchuk, a Paralympic athlete who is very motivating, and actually his victory in Rio Paralympics was devoted to all people who gave their lives for Ukraine. So, well, you have mentioned the name, but there were 6 medals, 6 set of medals that could be won, and the Ukrainian team participated in biathlon, and 19-year-old Ukrainian Anastasia Leletina finished on the 10th place, and then the first gold medal was won by Taras Rad, who had some impairments of skeleton, so he became the vice champion in sprint, and the second silver medal was won by Lyudmila Leshenko, also with impairments of skeletal and skeleton issues. Then we have Yulia Mitenkova, who took the 6th place, and the first gold medal was won by Grigory Vovchinsky in sprint in standing format. Well, Taras will definitely have more medals. He's a cool guy, very, very confident, very calm person. We are very much proud of him. He's from Ternopil, and he has always been like that. Yesterday we were talking about Bachelors, the Bachelor TV show, and we were talking about the Kyiv ghost. And now we already see the fans of Arestovich, and today in the morning I got the news that the head of Mykolaiv administration has become known as well, because he starts all his addresses: "Good morning, good evening, we are from Ukraine." Today I saw the photo of Zaluzhny, who is showing this heart with his fingers, and he's a very experienced soldier who's in control of the most large-scale operation in the world. And when he's showing this finger, this heart with his finger, it's really reassuring. Yesterday we saw lots, everything in Paralympics had this blue and yellow lighting, so it was also support to Ukraine under the current circumstances, and our athletes really looked very impressive. So we are following the Paralympic news, and we try to see what other medals will be won by Ukraine. And Maxim Yarovy was carrying the Ukrainian flag. The Russian and Belarusian athletes were not allowed to participate in the Paralympics, even under neutral flags. Actually, they already arrived in Beijing, and they were refused. They were refused to participate in the Paralympics. And this is the case in all kinds of sports. Well, actually, it is humiliating. First of all, they were allowed with neutral flags, and then when they already were there, they were even refused participation on the neutral flags. The World Box Federation, well, the Russian part influence was always strong there, and now it took a decision to exclude Russian and Belarus boxers from any competitions, and it is is actually a blow to the vanity of the Russians. And for them, this vanity, this self-confidence is very important, how they are welcomed, etc. And the fact that they were excluded is really a blow. We have news from Mykolaiv region. The night was calm. Now the enemy forces are trying to relocate near Bashtanka, and our military forces are trying to protect the settlement. So the head went to our units. The looters are afraid, and the drivers who are drunk, their cars are taken for the sake of army. So Mykolaiv has renewed its positions. Yesterday we informed that Mykolaiv was taken under full control of the Ukrainian army. The Kulbakino airdrome is under Ukrainian control, and it means that all the planes are safe. They actually, when there was some shelling, they took the other positions, and everything is under control. Everything is fine there. Going to geopolitical news, first of all over the world, the Ukrainians are taking to streets to protest and demand from NATO to close the sky over Ukraine in order to prevent the Russian occupiers from using missiles and bomb the civil population. At the same time, the European Court on Human Rights has repeated unprecedented preliminary judgment, preliminary decision, and forbade the Russian Federation to continue shelling the civilian infrastructure. And also, it will be used, the decision will be used in all other decisions against the Russian Federation. It followed the Rule 39, which allows to give the immediate orders to the participating states. So the European Court on Human Rights for the second time orders Russia to stop shelling the civilian infrastructure and civilian population of the Ukrainian state. Those who were watching us at 9, I saw that the local administration in Enerhodar was occupied. And we discussed it with my wife that with us, the city council, the local administration is not the symbol of something. If you occupy it, it means you are the power. No. You occupy the premises. This is just the premises, the place where people work, and they are still under the impression that if they occupy the local administration, they paralyze the city. This is not the case. We are talking about decentralization reform. Moreover, people take on more responsibility, people can self-organize, and the fact that the local buildings, local administrations are occupied is just nothing. And once again, we are going to show the picture. It is from yesterday. If you have this map, it means do not believe the map, because they report, we have taken Kherson, we have taken Kherson region. Well, it doesn't matter whether you have occupied the local administration. It's just the buildings. The territory is still under control. Very often the Russian forces go as transit forces. They do not take any buildings. And I understand that probably in their propaganda they state that they occupy Enerhodar. They have their flag on Enerhodar local administration. But when they write propaganda materials about importance of territory, they probably did not understand the situation in Ukraine. People who live on that territory are ready to protect it. You are not welcome. Yesterday we saw that even in the so-called occupied territories where the Russian vehicles were present, people were protesting. Yesterday we saw the picture from Kherson, and we saw the Russian soldier who was actually very much afraid. He was running away from the local population, and they were just shooting into the sky, and they were just saying to Ukrainian population, what what are you doing? We have come to liberate you, because they didn't expect such a welcome. And what happened? Yesterday we paid attention to the наголосимо корпусі Запорізької АЕС in the training center of Zaporizhia NPP, and they were experts who explained that, well, the man-made disaster is actually impossible, taking into account the situation which is there now. Even if the missile hit the very premises of NPP, the fuel, the nuclear, is well protected.
Можете подивитися ще раз і переконатися в тому, що говорять фахівці з енергетики, які працюють у Львівській політехніці.
Ask the experts in energy who work in Lviv Polytechnic University. Now we have the operational information about the current situation in Zaporizhia NPP. The State Inspection of Nuclear Regulation of Ukraine is reporting that after heavy shelling, the NPP is occupied, is captured by the armed forces of the Russian Federation. Currently, the personnel of NPP is controlling the condition of power units and is controlling their operation. There is no change in radiation in the Zaporizhia region. Radiation is within normal threshold. However, in the city of Enerhodar, there is no heating and no hot water supply due to the damages of water supply routes, and therefore the pipes actually go from NPP to the city, and therefore it is logical that there is no heating and no hot water supply, but the repairs are going on. It is complicated because the pipes have multiple damages, and probably it will take some time, but the repairs are going on. Well, as of 7 o'clock today, the radiation in the Zaporizhia region is stable, is not changed, and is not threatening health and lives of population. So everything is stable, everything is normal, and please do not write any other news. So if you come across the news that a radiation cloud is approaching the other regions, no, it's not the case. Theoretically, there were some calculations what might happen, but it is not the fact. People try to forecast the situation in advance, and definitely remember Chernobyl and NPP. For 10 days people are taken hostages, and there are no shifts, because there are reports that in Enerhodar there was the shift of personnel. However, in Chernobyl it's not the case. People were divided into two groups, and they take these shifts 10 by 10. And Merslavutich is reporting that it is for the 10th day running that people are taken hostages. They are not allowed to leave the NPP premises. They have limited food supplies, and the Russian Federation is still producing this propaganda that they are trying to protect Ukraine from Nazi people and Banderivci. Still pressing is the issue of closing the sky over Ukraine. I hope we'll have Dmytro Sherinhovsky here as our guest, and we are going to discuss this issue with him. And we have a video how international partners are requested to demanded to close the sky and to prevent shelling on the part of the Russian occupiers, to preserve the civilian infrastructure in Ukraine. There is 65 million of you, those who became Ukrainian during the last days because it was the calling of your spirit and conscience. There are hundreds of millions of you. On the 5th and 6th of March, go to the squares of all of the world and demand to close the sky over your motherland, because they want to take away your motherland from you.
І маємо кілька повідомлень
We
від
have
Львівської
several messages
військової
from
адміністрації.
Lviv military
Думаю,
administration.
матимемо також гостей
We do
звідти з
hope that there
оперативної
will be
актуальної
some
інформації.
guests
Але
from them
що там
with
повідомляють?
pressing
По-перше,
information.
спільно з
So
благодійним
what are the
фондом «Крила
messages?
надії»
Together with the
голова
charitable
військової
fund,
адміністрації
the head of
ініціював
military
збір коштів
administration
на потреби української
initiated
армії.
collecting
Усі, хто
funds
має можливість
for
зробити
the
внесок,
Ukrainian
то
army.
можете це
So
робити.
please, all
Контакти
those who
і
donate, do
реквізити
it.
шукайте на
All the contact
Фейсбук-сторінці
information is available
Львівської
at
обласної
Facebook
державної
page of
адміністрації,
Lviv
так вона принаймні
Regional
називається,
Administration,
бо так вона була
Military
створена.
Administration. This is the way it
Незабаром,
is
кажуть,
called.
також у Львівській військовій
Soon
адміністрації запрацює
there
сайт
will be a website, fight4ua.org,
який міститиме всю необхідну інформацію
that
для
will
громадян
have all
іноземних
the
держав,
necessary
які хочуть
information for
приєднатися
the
до
foreign citizens
інтернаціонального
who would like
легіону
to
оборони
join the
України.
International Legion
Ми буквально перед
for
ефіром із
Ukraine.
нашими колегами,
Before
операторами обговорювали цю тему
the
і
beginning of our program, we
знаєш,
discussed
обговорювали питання, із
this
яких
topic,
країн
and we
починають до нас
discussed the
приїжджати
issue
хлопці.
where
Не
these
буду
people come
говорити,
from,
до яких
the
країн ми
countries
приділили найбільше
people come
уваги, але
from.
просто
I'm
вражає
not going to mention those countries, but the geography is really impressive.
Хлопці, ну, не знаю, чи дівчата,
I'm
але
not sure
хлопці
whether
точно
we have
захищати українську
girls,
державу в тій
but
ситуації, в якій вона
boys,
опинилася.
men are really ready to protect and fight for Ukrainian state. You know that every time you ask where you can go if you would like to give some assistance, if you would like to help, please follow the webpage of Lviv Regional Administration, because it has all the contact information, all the phones, so all the references to the Telegram channels, etc. And at about 12 o'clock, we shall have Yuri Viznik, the head of the humanitarian office in Lviv, and he will tell us what is in demand, what is required by our armed forces, and what assistance is offered. The Lviv Chief Prosecutor's Office informs that 2 people died in Kyiv, among them 1 kid. It was the private car that was shelled, and it happened on the 4th of March. 4 people were in the car, and on their way they met the occupiers' convoy marked V, and they started shelling the car. 2 people died, and 4 people were wounded. Among them there were teenagers. Kharkiv reports that enemy aviation continues airstrikes on civilian infrastructure, and the residential buildings were damaged. Irrespective of the fact that the police infrastructure has been partially ruined, still the police is functioning. And we have to explain why there are airstrikes on Kharkiv. We saw that in Zhytomyr, Kyiv region, Mykolaiv region, the missiles are actually shot down, and in Kharkiv we do not have this situation. This is the point of air defense system. It was the integral one, and when the Soviet Union collapsed, there were some lines which were not fully closed, and before 2014 nobody could ever think that Russia will be the attacker. Therefore, the air defense is in the form of a circle all over Ukraine, and sometimes it goes beyond the borders of other countries. And if everything is good in western or in central part, so it's not very good in east of Ukraine. And during the first night, the Russians were trying to suppress, to damage the air defense system in that part, and they managed to do it. Moreover, they have special rockets, special missiles, land, and therefore they just launch
these missiles from the territory of the Russian Federation, where our air defense system cannot reach them. And taking into account that this is the 8th year of war, it was very difficult to arrange everything there, because the Russians see it, they understand it, and they were doing their best to disrupt the renovation of air defense system. But the moment we have more planes, our pilots will continue shooting down the enemy airplanes and helicopters and rockets. We do have air defense systems and units. I know that they were actually replenished, and I know that there were units in Sumy, in Kharkiv, who were protecting the sky, and now our units are coming back there, trying to protect Kharkiv. And now we have war, so everything will be done to protect that part of the Ukrainian territory. So now we also talk about motivation of our armed forces. For many times we have already discussed that the Russians do not have the motivations we have. We are on our native land and we protect it. And they often go, they do not have any motivation, they do not understand the intention, what they are doing. And this demotivation is noticed not only by us, but also by our foreign partners. And our soldiers have very high motivation, which cannot be destroyed. And here is the video about it.
Захисник, тому що це мій обов'язок, як українця, як офіцера, як батька.
Я захисниця, тому що я українка і хочу, щоб мої діти і близькі жили в вільній країні.
Я захисник, бо присягав українському народові. Я в боргу перед пам'яттю загиблих побратимів.
Я захисник, тому що хочу, щоб кожна дитина мала майбутнє в сильній та незалежній Україні.
Я захисниця України, тому що тут моя сім'я, моя родина, мої батьки, зростав мій син. Тут недоторкана могила мого батька.
Я захисник України, щоб дати гідну відсіч ворожій агресії заради незалежності та величі нашої держави.
Я захисниця, тому що я мати, дружина, донька. І це мій вибір – таким чином захищати сім'ю, Україну, український народ.
Я захисник, тому що це традиція мого славетного роду, і мені є що захищати.
Я захисник, тому що мене час, пройдуть роки, і діти запитають кожного з нас: татку, де ти був, коли ворог дерся на нашу землю? Так, я захисник, тому що це наша країна і наша земля.
Віримо в наших захисників! Слава Україні! Героям слава! Героям слава!
Повертаємося в прямий
So
ефір.
let's
ТРК
get back
«Перший
to our
західний». У нас
broadcast
є
on
перший
Перший
гість на
Західний.
сьогодні, але
And we
спершу
have our
скажемо,
first
що
guest,
будемо
but let us tell about
Росії
CNN's
відправили
news.
чергових 1000
Russia has sent another 1,000 of soldiers to the territory of Ukraine because it's very much disappointed with the battle of those who have already come here, and their task is the same as it used to be to hit Zelensky. And there were at least 3 attempts to do this, and the task to kill Zelensky was the task of guys, combatants from Chechnya, Kadyrov guys, but they failed to do this. The only thing they managed to do is to take hold of Chernobyl and Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plants, but in Hostomel they were fully destroyed, the same as the Wagner squad, who even didn't enter Kyiv. But there is one point here. You need to make some adjustment because my wife is watching the news in the US, and it's rather strange to see the news in the US newspapers because they tend to provide the news about yesterday, today in the morning. So maybe this information is about the Kadyrov and Wagner guys who entered Kyiv 2 days ago, but who have already been destroyed. We have a deputy from Lviv City Council, the head of the Commission on Law Enforcement, Anti-Corruption Activity and Military Units. Nazar, glory to Ukraine, glory to heroes. Thank you for coming to this studio. We realized that all the commissions and all the departments of Lviv military administration and Lviv City Council have transformed into working in the wartime. So what is your commission in charge of, and what do the deputies of the council generally do in the situation in which we are now? Welcome to all of you, to all the audience, and let me tell you in brief about the piece of news about 1,000 of soldiers. I'm sure that these soldiers are going to stay in the Ukrainian land inside that. And as far as Hostomel is concerned, my great thanks go to our armed forces and the representatives of our academy from Lviv. Great respect goes for them because it was thanks to them that we managed to destroy the army there. And Pavlo Tkachuk is to be highly respected because of that, because of the training the academy provided to those cadets. We are trying to get involved in all the possible military processes, volunteering activity. Do you have any voluntary formation, or are you involved in the territorial defense forces? The deputies of regional council arranged voluntary formation.
визначили, десь погодили і назвали батальйон,
which is already called a battalion, which will be included into the territorial defense of Lviv. All the processes are now being coordinated, and it seems that our formation is in permanent contact with the commander of the 103rd Brigade, and in the near future we will be clear about the situation, we will have clarity, and there will be no chaos, because, you know, on the first days it was not coordinated, but now it's coordinated better, and on my behalf, I may tell you that we have got fully involved in the process. There are a lot of guys, a lot of men. I think that we have about 500 in that battalion. We have some trainings and exercising, structuring, and we are really grateful to the city residents and to the residents of our region who don't have any military education, any military background, and are not knowledgeable in military business, but they are still trying to arrange some structure, and this is absolutely the structure of military units, and the people understand their task and get involved in all the processes. Some of the people from our voluntary battalion also participate in the humanitarian block activity, which means that we have determined some of the locations for the warehouses, and the volunteers and the residents from our region, from abroad, can work. There is a logistics center there, and they're trying to coordinate these processes all the time. And we stay in close contact with law enforcement agencies. Yes, we have understood it, that you have just split your activity into directions. Somebody is trying to exert pressure on the international community, some work with logistic issues, some work with humanitarian issues, the others are in the territorial defense forces. You know, I've read the comments of some deputies claiming that I suppose that your battalion should be called not Javelin, should be called Javelin or Bayraktar, but you have given this name Laughter. But I think that this is a joke. Yeah, we will follow the other deputies who suggest this, whether they call their children that are to be born Bayraktars or kind of that. Nazar, you worked in law enforcement agencies, therefore you're well aware of the situation. And you know, yesterday we had some communication on this topic. A lot of displaced persons have come to Lviv. And on the other hand, sometimes there are some conflicts between Lviv residents who are accustomed to a certain living style and displaced persons who have their own habits. And we have got signals that people from the territorial defense saying that they are trying to defend the city go to some small kiosks, small shops, asking for some free of charge donations, so some food or coffee, but they do not actually belong to territorial defense. So how do we coordinate this process not to have a conflict? Well, unfortunately, we do have such situations, and the residents of our frontier villages are trying to help at the border. These queues, these lines at the border are now smaller, and a lot of residents have given me calls saying that, you know, we have cooked food, we give this food out, but people react in a strange way. They're not grateful. We just see those sandwiches somewhere in the bushes. That is a fact. That is true. But please, I would like to address the displaced persons or the refugees. Try to be more tactful, more diplomatic, because people really want to help you, so you need to appreciate this help and not to throw out those sandwiches into the bushes. And in Zakarpattia, Transcarpathian region, we also have such facts. people come, of course, this is not related to absolutely everyone, but there are some people who behave as if they were staying at a resort place. This is wrong behavior, and there must be some moral values that would be manifested by people now. We need to appreciate any assistance that is provided by peaceful residents of other regions. From the legal point of view and from the point of view of law enforcement agencies, definitely such acts of the people from seemingly territorial defense forces are concerned. So, of course, these actions are subject not to criminal responsibility, but for some administrative responsibility. We do realize that now we have an influx of people into our patrol police, into the hotline of the national police, which is 102. People try to react to the messages, to go to such calls about some conflicts and try to settle the problem, but this is related very much to moral aspect, because you would not be willing to bring somebody to account, to take them to police units, and that takes time of law enforcement agency officers who would actually use this time at block posts or at some saboteurs. Yeah, that's the most important point, and that's great that we still have coordination with the security service, with the national police who deal with those sabotage and reconnaissance groups. They are actively working at liquidation of those groups and at ensuring security for Lviv residents and Lviv region residents, because we realize that in Lviv we do have some terrorist acts, we may possibly have them, and that is what is happening. And we get a lot of information about some suspicious objects located in Lviv. Some objects were located and found, detected close to the tank plant, but our guys went to neutralize these facilities, these objects. You know, war is war, but you need to speak about the community. Yesterday we were supposed to have the program Community or Hromada in Ukrainian, and we were supposed to speak about some civil protections, some civil alarm signals, but we didn't have this program yesterday, we didn't have this broadcast. But could you comment on the situation in the communities? Besides the notification system, you know, on Monday, actually, we had a chance to buy this notification system, and the other part is related to the police communities, to the police officers in communities. Well, police officers in communities work in a proper way. We do realize that every community started arranging some block posts, creating some defense forces, local defense forces, which is good, and this is a good signal contributing to the spirit of the nation. But here, the issue of tactfulness arises, because again, there are a lot of claims, and these claims also come to the police. These are the claims about some conflicts at such arbitrary block posts in communities. So I guess that this process now in the nearest future will be somehow organized. Starting with the city, we will make some decisions concerning defense, concerning voluntary formations, concerning block posts, and then we will do this throughout the region. Some amendments will be introduced, and there will be no longer chaos. Police officers in communities have their own tasks, and they are like police officers, patrol officers. They communicate with the city residents, and they are their liaison officers between residents and between police officers. Everything is all right. As far as notification systems are concerned, I don't have the exact information
I'm not sure that we worked out some more additional notification systems for different communities, but I know that the guys from the Department of Civil Protection of Residents are working from day to day, and they are improving those things which are related to the air alarm systems and other alarm systems. Let me specify that in Lviv, in many places, there are some additional alarming devices, and let me express my gratitude to the police officers, because after the first difficult days, they have gone to the streets and they are trying to arrange some order. In some places, it was impossible to coordinate the traffic because of some cars left in the streets, but yesterday, while going home, I saw that they have already arranged some structure there. Some money was allocated to the territorial defense, but what about this money? Have all this money been spent on the territorial defense, or do we still have some money, because we still have to work in this direction? Well, the money allocated and the money which is being allocated is not the main issue. We do have money for territorial defense, but we don't have the provision, the ammunition. For example, our Brigade 103 has been fully completed, and they have all the necessary equipment, and now we are arranging the 125th Brigade on the basis of the battalion which we had in Lviv. This is again the battalion to protect Lviv. There are certain procedural issues that are still not properly coordinated with the central authorities. These are majorly some technical things. But as far as provision of those battalions is concerned, well, that is more of a problem. They require some uniform, they require ammunition, so we hope that we will manage to support them with this. But that is the issue of casks, of bulletproof vests and other things. These are the things that they need badly, which means that there is money for that, but you don't have the things that are necessary. I keep in contact with colleagues from Dnipro, Kyiv, with the companies which have been accepted by the armed forces of Ukraine and are licensed to provide military equipment and uniforms, and we are trying to arrange things to make procurement of bulletproof vests and casks from other countries of the world. This is not even Europe. These are clearly some other countries. But that is the matter of time, and it will take us about a week, I guess. There are some countries which are ready to send their ammunition and uniforms, but the process is a tedious one, and we are trying to somehow combine all the aspects together and to provide the guys with the things they need. In several minutes, we will have the representative of the Western Border Guard Service, and there have been cases on the border when some guys were detained who either made some deliveries or took money for border crossing by the active servicemen, and they took great amounts of money for that. But now we don't have that many cases like this, because the border guard service reacted rather in a tough way to such cases, and there is a clear order that there is a list of people men who are allowed to cross the border, but there are about 2 or 3 categories of exceptions who are not allowed to do this. So they have to follow this list, and it's really difficult to pay any bribe and to cross the border. And the border guards of other countries also have this list, and they can check the information. So this means that they will immediately provide us the information about the border crossing by such people who are not allowed. So even if there are cases that you get the permission to cross the border, here the other country will not let you in. Since we do have this double verification, double check procedure, and the neighbors will anyway provide us with the information about such people. And you know, the border guards or the customs officers who will try to arrange you border crossing will have to pay for that. I mean, they will be brought to criminal account, and I don't think that now we will have cases like this. Well, there are some other violations of law, like people taking money for arranging quick border crossing of ordinary people. This is a kind of moral issue. And you can see how in the internet they show pictures what they do with people like this, with looters, with those who arrange border crossing. So where legal force is not in effect, human force is in effect. The Ministry of Internal Affairs asked the veterans of the ministry to get the weapons, and we know that there have been cases like this in Kyiv, in Kharkiv. Have there been any cases like this in Lviv? Yes, I know about this situation. I have communicated with the veterans, with Mr. Shlyakhovsky. We have some reserve of weapons, and I don't have any information. Maybe some veterans have not got weapons, but I myself have provided all the necessary documents, and in case the situation gets aggravated, I will definitely get weapons, the same as other law enforcement officers who registered to have veterans. But all the active law enforcement officers already have weapons, and those who are involved in any patrolling, in any police work, they do have weapons. So we do have some reserves of weapons, and that issue was actually settled on the very second day of the war. Everyone is ready. All our guys are conscious, and they are ready to defend the city if there is a need for that. And we're also arranging some other things, like convoys, and going to Kyiv. They go there, and my great thanks go to those people for that. We had the regional council, we had some executive committee. It was difficult to pass decisions. How do you coordinate your work? Now we have the military administration, but what about your communication with them? Well, our communication is rather fine. It's wartime. So those who are willing to join in and who can really contribute are already doing this, and definitely we are welcoming such people, and it's not the matter of who is more important, what authority is more important. And are a lot of deputies from the regional council staying abroad? I will try to check this, but I will have to ask the border guards about this, because I don't have this information. And please provide this information to us then. But the people with whom I normally communicate are all here, and we are trying to contribute. I will have one more clarification. Do you have any cooperation with other regions? I know that some Lviv guys are providing consultations to Chernobyl territorial defense, but this is not a complex targeted assistance. Well, on a centralized level, definitely the military administrations exchange their views and their information, so I think that there is some coordination from the legal point of view. As far as I myself am concerned, I keep communicating with the Khmelnytsk administration and their territorial defense, and they are rather fine with this. They have also arranged everything for the territorial defense, and I communicate with Zhytomyr, with the Carpathia, with Volyn region, so we do have communication. We understand how this is happening.
ситуації, то є загроза з
And we understand that we have a threat from the Belarus, so definitely we try to stay in contact with guys from Volyn regions in case they need some reinforcement. And we have some voluntary battalion, so they are ready to go there and to help. They are willing to fight. But let me not disclose the information, but we do have some reserves to reinforce Volyn region. Yes, and guys are really ready to contribute to that. They're ready to fight even in the front line. But so far, if we think globally, in terms of the whole of Ukraine, we need to stay, we need to wait. Not because we want to stay in the rear, but because we have to follow what is happening. You don't need any reserve. Mr. Zaluzhny just showed his heart with his fingers, so everything seems to be rather good. Yes, we're doing what we could do now. We try to train people to do some exercising, and that's what we do. We arrange trainings, we train people how to work with weapons, how to provide first medical aid, and if there is a need for that, you may go there and have a look at that. Our reporters have also been to your ground, to the place where you're doing the training. Yes, and there were Czech journalists who came there. We are trying to do everything we can. And we were even trying to help people and journalists to go to Kyiv. And yeah, and the price they had to pay was not $3,000. So Nazar Samalo, head of the Commission on Anti-Corruption and Military Units, it doesn't matter what the Commission's name is, because everyone is now dealing with the war and with preparation for, God forbid, some more active action, for humanitarian aid provision, for training of law enforcement, for working with reporters. Thank you for coming. Glory to Ukraine, glory to heroes. And I know the instructor of the Ternopil Defense Force, and maybe he's watching us. So Andrei, please, you have to recover because you have been sick for 3 days. But anyway, this is the guy who can really provide a very good training. And show my screen for the audience. Here you can see our uplay. This is the Russian helicopter, which is going in the same direction as the Russian ship. Show this to Russians. The video is 32 seconds long, so let me show it once again, since you're asking for that. This is exactly the form for TikTok, and there are a lot of Russians in TikTok, so use the necessary hashtags. They are using, looking for war in Ukraine, losses in Ukraine, and here they have at least 2 more people they have lost in Ukraine. I made a mistake. I must now dispel some information. Yeah, but there is the message from the ministry with the list of people coming from one of the aerodromes, and there is a list of people, of all the names of people who have, some of whom have already perished, and if others keep flying about the territory of Ukraine, they are doomed to die. But you may also try to find their relatives in social media telling where their men are. I don't know why I needed this, but I saw this information, I went to the link, I learned all the surnames. I don't know why, but at least I had a look at whether I don't know any people from Ukraine with such surnames. Well, that is a psychological trick, I would say. You're willing to find out whether there are no people in that list whom you could hypothetically know. In the morning, I mentioned Enerhodar. I told that the restoration would take a lot, but you know, in Enerhodar they already have water and electricity, no heat yet, but it's clear that during the shelling and during the cruise missile hits, the heat network was destroyed and you cannot restore it within 1 or 2 days. But at least Enerhodar already has electricity and light and water. border. And the Kadyrov squad is in the regional council. They are close there, and they are staying there. I don't know why. And, you know, I tend to speak to people, and a lot of people think that Putin is to blame, but people have a block. They still cannot believe that this could be happening. They are looking for a person who would be to blame, and not the Russian people in general, but these surnames and names help people understand that this is not a dream, that is reality. They are looking for people who are personally responsible for that. And these pictures, these names are really important for people to know who exactly is killing children, who is destroying the infrastructure and the residents. That's why the intelligence services do understand that people need this, and they provide this information. We have a Skype guest whom we have already mentioned. This is the spokesman of the Lviv bodyguard unit of the state bodyguard service, Alexandra Kuchkovska. Welcome, Alexandra. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to heroes. Welcome. We have a couple of questions. The first traditional one is, what about the queue lines at the border? Because we are watching the statistics from the state bodyguard service of Ukraine, and we have traced that 2 days ago and 3 days ago, the queue lines were smaller as compared to the first day when Russia attacked Ukraine. But yesterday, what about the situation yesterday? Because after the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, definitely the panic increased. So did it affect the lines at the border? Yes, the situation has changed a little bit as compared to the beginning of the attack on the 24th of February. Now there are more vehicles, there are more people, but I wouldn't say that we have such a large number of people staying at the border as during the first days. Krakivets is most overloaded now, about 700 cars, but in all the other checkpoints we have from 20 to 120. At the passing points for people without vehicles, we have in Krakivets 1,000, and in Svilnitsa, Shahini and Duhrenyev there are no lines there at all. In Ravaruska about 300 people, and in Hrushiv about 50 people. It looks that we have quite a lot of people in Krakivets because it's about 1,000 people. And what about peaceful times? What was the usual situation? Well, the figures tend to change from hour to hour, and you cannot make any forecast. Over the recent 2 days, we had a certain increase after lunchtime and in the evening, while in the morning the queue lines were not that long. The Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, Alexei Reznikov, has mentioned that about 66,000 men have got back to Ukraine from abroad to defend Ukraine in the situation created by Russia. What about our western borders? Can you see this trend at our western borders when the number of men coming back from abroad is increasing? Yes. We also have such data. And from the beginning of the war, it's about 40,000 of men who used to work abroad and lived abroad and have gone back to Ukraine to their families with the intention to defend our country. Alexandra, what about border crossing? What about the rules? We have already informed that the Polish border guards have simplified the procedure of document check. What about now? Now the situation has not changed. The Polish side keeps having this accelerated procedure for accepting our residents, and of course mainly this refers to women and children. No additional restrictions have been set, and this is really the facilitated and accelerated procedure. And what are the major issues, major problems during border crossing? In general, if we speak about women and children, there are no problems
said all because they can show their birth certificates, and even children without birth certificates are allowed to leave if they just have any certificate from their maternity house. Well, there are still some attempts of men who would be supposed to be active servicemen to cross the border, and there are some attempts to bribe border guards in order to cross the border. We have already shown these photos, and if the border guards cannot cope with this situation, or the customs officers, local residents do something about this. I have one more question. Colleagues working with the humanitarian aid provision have informed us about not a very positive fact when, from Hungary, our residents had to go back to bring some humanitarian aid, having all the necessary documents, but the Hungarian border guards imposed a fine on the Ukrainian residents, in spite of his having all the documents for humanitarian aid, because seemingly the car was overloaded. So in other words, they were trying just to do this, to stop the car. Have you got any cases like this? No. In Lviv region, for humanitarian aid, there have been allocated specific traffic lanes, both on our side and on the Polish side, and there is no barrier for humanitarian aid, and all the residents who are willing to transfer humanitarian aid from abroad to our country have a chance to do this. We haven't had any cases like that when there was some attempt to prevent this from happening. And Alexandra, one more question. At the beginning, when this all exploded and when we had long queue lines, there was a problem with organizing certain domestic issues, food and everything like that. What about now? Because we know that the Polish side trying to arrange some servicing areas, and the residents of frontier areas tried to give food to people. So what about the current situation? As compared to the first days of the war, now the situation is much better because we have volunteers close to the checkpoints, staying in some tents where they have hot drinks, where they have food, and the people are even given some sandwiches to take with them to the Polish side. While they are crossing the border, we have the representatives of healthcare professionals in case some medical aid is necessary. We have HCPs there as well. Do you have any information about the people who have crossed the border over the recent 10 days? I mean the western border. Definitely, we do have this information, and starting with the 24th of February up till now, in Lviv region, the figure is 394,000 people.
Дякуємо вам, пані Олександро, дякуємо, що знаходите
завжди час вийти з нами на зв'язок. Нагадаю нашим глядачам і слухачам, що це була Олександра Кучковська, the spokeswoman of Lviv bodyguard unit. Thanks a lot. Glory to Ukraine, glory to heroes. It's a great pleasure for me to have a look at the smile of this person, because, you know, the first days were tense, but now we can see that a lot of people are smiling, which means a sudden relaxation and understanding of the fact that the situation is under control. Here is an official piece of news from Petro Sharanovsky. He is, by the way, writing, he's been writing that he is already coming. He will be here in 20 minutes. And another piece of news is that we have the educational platform Coursera, and it has stopped cooperating with the co-creators of the course in Russia, because they think that training and education is the source of human progress, and we want to provide access to education of the highest quality, but we will not support reputational or financial benefits of Russian trainers while this tragedy is going on, and we will not be getting any profits in the conditions of the humanitarian crisis. As a result, we stop all our business in Russia. Irina Vereshchuk, Vice Prime Minister and Minister for Reintegration of temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine, informs about two itineraries of
green humanitarian corridors, which is Маріуполь, Нікольський, Розівка, Більмак, Пологи, Оріхів, Запоріжжя. And the intention is to evacuate about 200,000 people who are now blocked in Mariupol. Волноваха, Валер'янівка, Новоандріївка, Вугледар, Покровськ, Запоріжжя. The evacuation is planned for more than 15,000 people.
Якщо ми говоримо про евакуацію, то з Ірпеня до Києва евакуйованих людей автобусами через те, що окупанти підірвали залізничний колій. І мер міста
Railway station and the mayor
Олександр
Alexander Markushin has urged the people who were waiting for the trains, who were waiting at the railway station to go to Novoirpinsk highway because the buses will be staying there and they will take them from Irpin to Kyiv. And evacuation routes Vinnytsia, Lviv at 12:30, Darnytsia, Lviv at 5 o'clock, and Darnytsia, Kharkiv at 12 o'clock. But you know, the hours and the schedule may change depending on the situation. And the head of the military administration from Donetsk informs that evacuation from Donetsk will be arranged, but the confirmation of the silence regime has been obtained only in Donetsk region, while in Zaporizhia region there are battles going on, so we are having negotiations with the Russian side concerning confirmation of the silence regime throughout the whole line of the planned itinerary. So you can see that the occupants are still trying to arrange some provocations and to exert pressure on the Ukrainian side. So from the very morning, there were some shells in the morning, and then aviation attacks on the city, on the infrastructural facilities, but now no one can assess the damages because the artillery shelling is still going on, and the town of Lebedin has also been affected. And you know, when I come home, I keep reading the news and the sources I trust and the analytical centers which are doing all the analytics, and they claim that Russia has fully switched over to the tactic of affecting non-military civil infrastructure, because they think that in this situation they will manage to conclude an agreement about peace on any terms. I mean that Ukraine will accept everything. They do not control anything. They are just staying somewhere in the highways and shelling, firing, and claiming that they are in control of the situation. So I would ask my colleagues, reporters who give the task to graphic designers to draw any maps, please don't draw the maps with any territories controlled by Russia, because if there is a column of 20 tanks on some highway and in the field, this doesn't mean control. This doesn't mean that they have conquered any territory, because Russia has not occupied any single center, any single city, including Kherson. They just are staying in the city council, and people are resisting. And we have a short video about how people are resisting the occupants in Kherson. Please show the video.
Поки це відео у нас зараз буде, столиця дбає про головний прапор країни. Сьогодні здійснюють планові роботи зі зміни полотнища. Спуск почнеться близько 11:00. Зразу точно всі фейки, які потім з'являться, що Україна опускає прапор, погоджується на капітуляцію, неправда. Заміну полотнища на заміну полотнища потрібно менше години. Після цього головний прапор країни знову замайорить над столицею.
Але бачите, чому комунікує зараз влада, як на випередження почали комунікувати, розуміючи, що Російська Федерація зараз почне розганяти фейк про те, що все, зняли прапор, капітулювали, білий вивісить, чи який там чи триколорний. Знаєте, ні, наша влада нас попереджає про те, що ми планово це робимо, і не треба панікувати і вірити фейкам Російської Федерації, як і не треба вірити їхнім фейкам, які вони намагалися вчора в Херсоні влаштувати із їхніми наведеними псевдо що цими мітингерами з Криму, які мали би бути в ролі херсонського населення, які нібито вимагає в Росії, щоб вони їх врятували, вони їх вітали квітами і так далі. Ні, Херсон вийшов і показав з синьо-жовтими стягами з наміром прогнати окупанта зі своєї землі. І сьогодні ж знов херсонці вийшли на вулиці міста, не бояться того, що їм погрожують стріляниною, не бояться того, що туди Росія нагнала своїх підконтрольних їм людей, які намагаються навіть погрожувати мирному населенню стріляниною. І там знову збирається мітинг, про який говорив Станіслав. Давайте подивимося.
Kherson is Ukraine. Kherson is part of Ukraine. Kherson is part of Ukraine. Ukraine is the most important. Kherson is Ukraine. Kherson is Ukrainian. Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! My name is Vaganova Valentina, and I'm addressing all those people all over Ukraine. Here they are shooting at us. Have a look what is going on here. Just show them. We are not afraid. We are together with all Ukrainians. Please show it all over the world. I'm addressing everybody. Miami, Canada, please support us. We are together. We are with you. Kherson is Ukraine. Kherson is part of Ukraine.
Повертаємось у прямий ефір. ТРК «Перший Західний». Зараз покажемо ще одне хороше відео. Перед тим скажемо, що BBC цитує Блінкена, це державний секретар Сполучених Штатів, який переконаний, що Україна здатна перемогти у війні, яка пішла не за планом Путіна. Якщо Москва має намір спробувати якось повалити уряд і встановити власний маріонетковий режим, 45 мільйонів українців так чи інакше відкинуть.
Have there its puppet regime, there will be 45 million people fighting for their land. What is important in the country is not only the government, but the people living there. And as Volodymyr Zelensky is just addressing us, great people of great country. And this is something they still do not understand in Canada, in the US, and moreover in Russia. We have just seen it today, how people in Kherson chanting in Russian, saying that they are just for the same values and asking for this support. Here is the address of our president.
Вільні народи вільної країни. Вже 10-та доба нашої вітчизняної боротьби, щирої віри та цілодобової роботи. 10-та доба як один безкінечно довгий день, одна безкінечно довга ніч, яка не дає відпочинку. Сьогодні субота. Субота – це слово на війні нічого майже не означає, як понеділок, або четвер, або будь-який інший день. Всі вони стали однаковими. Однаково захищаємо державу, однаково рятуємо людей. Країна не знає більше вихідних. Неважливо, що на годиннику, неважливо, що у календарі. І так до перемоги. Пізно вночі говорив з президентом Французької Республіки Еммануелем Макроном і з президентом Польщі Анджеєм Дудою. Наша взаємодія постійна, наші розмови щоденні. Я безмірно вдячний кожному з них. Я безмірно вдячний Анджею за його рішучість та відданість нашій спільній справі, захисту людей. Дружині Анджея, Агаті, друзі, яких я щиро вважаю друзями і щиро бажаю кожному. Нам вдалося не допустити гуманітарної кризи на кордоні. Вдалося організувати ситуацію так, щоб тисячі українських жінок і дітей отримали гідне ставлення. Ніхто не питає, якої вони національності, якої вони віри, скільки у них грошей. Фактично у нас більше немає кордону з Польщею, з дружньою Польщею, бо ми разом на стороні добра. Нам не до кордонів. Я впевнений, що вже скоро ми зможемо сказати нашим людям: повертайтеся. Повертайтеся з Польщі, з Румунії, Словаччини та усіх інших дружніх країн. Повертайтеся, бо загрози більше немає. Ми вже думаємо про майбутнє для всіх українців після війни, про те, як оживити наші міста, як відновити економіку. Я говорив з головою Світового банку Девідом Мальпасом, виконавчим директором Міжнародного валютного фонду Крісталіною Георгієвою. Маємо згоду між найбільшими фінансовими інституціями заради підтримки України. Вже є рішення про невідкладну допомогу і про десятки мільярдів доларів на відбудову України після війни. І це тільки перші рішення. Я підкреслюю це, тільки перші. Говорив з президентом Туреччини Ердоганом, говорив з лідерами Саудовської Аравії та Об'єднаних Арабських Еміратів, з президентом Європейської ради Шарлем Мішелем і президенткою Єврокомісії Урсулою фон дер Ляєн. Головна тема членства в ЄС для України. Я вдячний європейцям, сотням тисяч людей у різних містах нашого континенту. Братислава, Вільнюс, Франкфурт, Ліон, Париж, Тбілісі, Прага. Вони вчора вийшли на підтримку України, на підтримку Європи. Вони вийшли заради миру. Якнайшвидше. Я вдячний американцям, стійкій двопартійній більшості звичайних людей. Ми бачили опитування, ми бачили думку звичайних людей Америки, які підтримують звичайних людей України, які вимагають посилення санкцій проти Росії за агресію вже зараз, які підтримують закриття неба вже зараз, щоб врятувати життя наших людей. 74% американців за безпольотну зону, 74, абсолютна більшість. Що ще потрібно для ухвалення рішень? Ми впевнені, схожий результат і в інших демократичних країнах. Збройні сили України хоробро тримають усі напрями нашої оборони, контратакують окупантів під Харковом, взяючи місто, тримають Миколаїв, Київ, тримають Чернігівщину, Сумщину, Донбас. Ми завдаємо окупантам таких втрат, які вони не бачили і в найстрашнішому сні. Російська армія не вийшла на заплановані рубежі, але вийшла майже на 10 тисяч убитих російських військових. 10 тисяч – це страшно. Це хлопці, 18-20 років, зовсім молоді, майже діти, солдати, яким навіть не змогли пояснити, за що вони йдуть воювати, за що. І чому вони на чужій землі? 10 тисяч. Росія точно могла би дати цим своїм людям щось інше, крім смерті. Український народ чинить спротив і там, де окупантам вдалося пройти. На жаль, але ненадовго пройти. Я захоплююся кожним українцем, кожною українкою, які протестують, який бере національний прапор і показує російським військовим, що вони програють. Програють обов'язково, бо неможливо виграти у людей, які без зброї в руках зупиняють військову техніку, які відмовляються брати що завгодно із рук окупантів, яким складно, яким небезпечно, але вони не втрачають слово «гідність» і ніколи не втратять. На переговорах в Білорусі групи домовились про перший крок, щоб повернути хоча б 1% людяності від нормального рівня містам, які в оточенні, які знищують, які переживають найгірші дні. Гуманітарні коридори мають працювати сьогодні. Маріуполь і Волноваха, щоб рятувати людей, жінок особливо, дітей, людей старшого віку, щоб дати продукти харчування і ліки тим, хто залишається. Наша допомога, вона вже в дорозі. Усі, хто потребує допомоги, повинні мати змогу вийти, хто хоче. Усі, хто може захищати своє місто, повинні продовжувати боротьбу. Повинні, бо якщо всі підуть, то чиє тоді буде це місто? Ми робимо все з нашого боку, щоб домовленість запрацювала. Це одне з головних завдань саме на сьогодні. Подивимось, чи можна піти далі у переговорному процесі. Молимося за наших військових, допомагаємо нашим цивільним, працюємо заради миру. Слава Україні!
Повертаємося у прямий ефір студії Першого Західного. Також ви можете слухати нас на радіо Перше. Стежимо за ситуацією. Чекаємо у студії гостя. Це Дмитро Шеренговський, експерт з міжнародних питань, проректор Католицького університету. І також продовжуємо стежити за тими компаніями, які виходять з російського ринку. До речі, вчора розгорнулася оця така компанія з Кока-Колою. Знаєш, то йде, то не йде. То ми забираємо товари в українських супермаркетах Кока-Коли, то вже залишаємо, бо компанія Кока-Кола ніяк не може визначитися. Так і не дійшла, що поки що згоди пішли, не пішли. Знаєте, що Макдональдс залишається, залишається KFC в Росії, залишається ще там кілька компаній. А от, наприклад, і компанія Люксофт іде з російського ринку. І ще, що дуже цікаво, PayPal призупиняє, не припиняє, а поки що в компанії сказали, що призупиняють свою роботу на ринку Росії, не зможуть росіяни скористатися послугою PayPal. Зрештою, їм, якби воно і найближчим часом не знадобиться, бо вони не будуть мати чим користатися. Крім тих людей, які чартерами масово вилітають зараз в Туреччину, очевидно, вони якісь запаси мають і там будуть користатися послугами, якими тепер вже точно не зможуть користатися на території Російської держави.
Банки їхні заблоковані,
і що готівкою, власне.
Ось, то більше не маєш. А що тих компаній Росії, я не розумію просто десь логіки, ви можете зберегти обличчя, захочете, пізніше повернетеся. Ви можете заморозити своє перебування там, але...
Зараз я принагідно шукаю список цих компаній.
Хто вас це все буде купувати? Ви думаєте, що росіяни сидять без грошей, якого рубль просто пробиває стелю, який не має що на хліб, він піде пити Кока-Колу і їсти в Макдональдсі. Це також трошечки смішно. Я розумію, що там ціни не найбільші, не найдорожчі, але це точно не буде тим продуктом, які люди будуть купувати. От потрібно, я голодний, піду поїм в Макдональдсі. Логіки цих діях дуже мало.
Я тільки зазначу з тих компаній, таких, які можуть бути вам відомі, скажімо, Кока-Кола, так, Хенкель, Лореаль залишається в Росії, Марс, Данон, Карлсберг, Пепсі. І ще, слухай, якісь одні продуктові компанії, таке враження, що вони збираються нагодувати голодних росіян, Макдональдсом, KFC, Пепсі і Кока-Колою. Бог їм суддя.
Подивимося, що це все закінчиться, але я більш ніж упевнений, що це все закінчиться тим, що ці компанії все одно вийдуть з ринку по дуже простій причині. Для той же ж Макдональдс, він зазвичай немає ні в Україні, умовно, чи в Росії, він не має десь там картоплю, де виготовляти
They do not have their own Ukrainian or local potato or meat. It is brought from Europe. So how they are going to deliver it? Then it will be necessary to buy it and pay in dollars. So if you are going to buy it in Poland, for example, potato in Poland, they will want to be paid in euros or dollars. So you won't be able to pay for this, or even if you pay, these chips will cost very expensively, and there will be reputational losses. There are 65 million Ukrainians all over the world, and those who stay abroad, who are not in Ukraine, will do their best to disrupt the reputation of all those companies. And reputation is something which is very important. So instead of
Бачили ми, що президент Володимир Зеленський в своєму останньому зверненні подякував особливо міжнародним партнерам, таким нашим найближчим полякам, особливо президенту Польщі Анджею Дуді, його дружині за рішучу допомогу нашій країні. Процитую його: фактично у нас більше немає кордону з дружньою Польщею, бо ми разом на стороні добра і нам не до кордонів. Маємо вже в студії гостя, якого анонсували, Дмитро Шеренговський, експерт з міжнародних питань, проректор Українського католицького університету. Дмитре,
international
вітаємо
issues,
з
vice rector of the Ukrainian Catholic University.
Так,
Glory to
загально,
Ukraine,
як ви
glory to
оцінюєте загалом
heroes.
те, що зараз відбувається в
What is your
міжнародній
general
політиці, ці всі
evaluation of the
тенденції? Ми
international
десь так частково кожен
policies
з тим чи іншим гостем це
and
обговорюємо.
international politics?
Ось,
We give
але
this question
ваше
to
бачення,
all
що
our
зараз
guests.
відбувається?
So
Маємо
what is
встановити,
your vision
що
of the
Європа,
situation?
Америка трошки
I'm
втикли,
under
так як нам скажуть
impression
на
that
селі, тому що
Europe
вони до кінця
and
розуміють, що їм далі
America
робити.
now do
Бо
not
Україна робить те,
understand
чого
what
від
they
неї не
should
очікує
do.
навіть
They
на
are at a
5-й, 7-й,
loss.
10-й
Ukraine
день
is doing something that
Очевидно,
nobody
можна
has
говорити про те,
expected.
що,
Well,
скажімо так, ті аналітики, ті науковці, які говорили про те, що Україна там на другий день ляже, мусять як мінімум зараз вибачитися, тому що з певної, скажімо так, певна доля їхнього впливу на ту ситуацію є. Так, зокрема, ці всі слова і формулювання, які блокували вчасне постачання зброї, чи загалом постачання зброї, це є такий важливий момент в тому. З іншого боку, ми бачимо те, що так, і наші партнери західні, вони все ще пробують себе знайти в тій допомозі, і насправді воно важливо. Так, тобто ми бачимо, як уряди реагують, як санкції запроваджуються, так, все більше і більше, скажімо, як бізнес активно виходить, як спортивні мережі виходять. Я з прикрістю можу вам сказати, що, але це важливо також всім знати, що академічні мережі гальмують, достатньо сильно гальмують, і ми зі свого боку, із католицького університету, з іншими партнерами пробуємо тиснути також і на академічні мережі, але загалом ми бачимо просту річ в контексті такої військової важливої допомоги, те, що так багато країн боїться просто-напросто вступати в якусь активну фазу боротьби з Росією. Вони трактують в більшості випадків, що це буде сприйнято як прямий напад НАТО і відкриє Третю світову війну, таким би вона вже не почалася. І це така обережність, така дуже сильно присутня. І я не тільки говорю про закриття неба, так, що до чого ми постійно звертаємося, що нам є достатньо важливо через, скажімо, НАТО, так, тому що ми це можемо зробити, в принципі, своїми зусиллями, аби було систем достатньо протиповітряної оборони, аби було літаків багато, але ми бачимо, що тут також все-таки гальмування великі є. Тому десь загальна тенденція є така, що Захід націлюється на довго і виснажливу війну з Росією, і воно вже діє, але з нашого боку прикро, що це відбувається все-таки нашою кров'ю, нашим сміттям.
Я тут точно вчора з Іриною говорили якраз в ефірі між собою про те, що Європа і світ себе обманює. Третя світова війна вже триває. Просто вона не така, як була Друга світова, інші бої відбуваються в економічній сфері, інформаційній, це гібридна війна. І от перетворювати себе, це означає, що в довгій перспективі Європа, Америка можуть піти програти.
Я б такі планування не робив і слова на цю тему, але з іншого боку, так, на мій погляд, я цілком солідарний з вами, вона вже триває, тому що ті питання протидії, так, тобто це не є там війна фактично за Україну. Фактично ми маємо справу з тим, що в умовній країні, будь-якій умовній країні може знайти якийсь диктатор, хворий на голову, не хворий на голову, так, який настільки буде тримати контроль і забувати своє населення і робити все, що йому заманеться. Так, що навіть його громадяни нічого не можуть сказати. І ось найбільша небезпека є те, що от всю світобудову, яку ми дуже довго вибудовували після Другої світової війни, так, віру в те, що можна домовитися, віру в те, що є платформи для того, щоб полагодити ці питання, віру в те, що ми маємо інструменти для того, щоб різко зупинити вбивства. Ми раз за разом, там, починаючи з 90-х років, ми бачимо, що це не спрацьовує. І, на жаль, це сталося з нами. І тому так, це є відверта велика війна за ті цінності, які ми вибудовували. За те, що дуже влучно, на мій погляд, президент Зеленський сказав, що ми говоримо дуже багато, ніколи знову. Ось воно є, і ми не можемо цього різко стримати.
Позачергове засідання Північно-Атлантичної ради вчора відбувалося. Столтенберг з одного боку визнає і кричить, що у нас смертні вбивають цивільне населення. Так, вони фіксують справді, що Росія бомбить цивільні об'єкти. Вже і Європейський суд із прав людини вже вдруге закликає Росію припинити терміново те все, що вона робить. А з іншого боку, Столтенберг каже, у нас немає підстав запроваджувати це закрите небо, no-fly zone. І тут воно не в'яжеться логічно, бо вони бачать, але немає підстав. Чого вони найбільше бояться? Я просто як людина пересічна запитаю, що їх так тримає, щоб це небо... Третя світова і так вже почалася, всі так це все бачать. Якщо я розумію, поляки, наприклад, звертаються по польський президент до свого народу, ми не вступаємо поки що в війну, вони апелюють до свого народу. Французький президент звертається, також апелює до свого народу, тихо, заспокойтеся, ми не вступаємо в війну. Він це мусить робити, він лідер нації, щоб народ не почав переживати, і він розуміє, що він також їх попереджає про якісь економічні певні незручності. Чого боїться НАТО? НАТО не має такого народу, скажімо, точкового, так, якого можна взяти, обійняти, помацати, чого вони бояться.
Дивіться, тут треба дуже добре розуміти те, що НАТО говоримо, але це ж альянс, це є оборонний альянс, який в першу чергу працює на те, щоб забезпечити безпеку країн-членів, усіх країн-членів. Так, тому роблячи такі акти солідарності між собою, обговорюючи ці всі питання, країни НАТО самі обговорюють, що є достатньо для їхніх країн, для їхніх урядів. І ми дуже добре розуміємо, що вони відчувають тут себе в безпеці. Основна теза, яку вони піднімають, це є, власне, питання того, що от такі кроки з закриття, наприклад, неба, пряма така допомога буде розцінюватися, може розцінюватися Росією як пряма агресія з боку НАТО. Ну, Росія все може бути розцінюватися як пряма агресія. Так, тут не треба нам робити якихось певних ілюзій. Але тим не менше в них існують такі дуже великі побоювання. Причому абсолютно праві те, що до певної міри, в тому числі вони себе накручують, кажуть, для мене це звучить дуже така, як мантра, не надавати летальне озброєння українцям, яку ми бачили фактично там з літа, тому що українці за 2 дні програють війну і росіяни позабирають це озброєння. Скільки вже така повномасштабна війна, до сих пір нічого не забирає, навіть в нас з'являється трактористів допомога від російських танків. Так? Тобто, до певної міри це є таке самонакручування і обережність. Так? З іншого боку, навіть всередині НАТО треба дуже чітко розуміти, що ось ця певнозвісна стаття 5 договору, на яку всі посилаються, яку українці прекрасно знають, так, але означає не що більше, ніж те, що країни будуть консультуватися між собою, оскільки 4 going
означає. І в
to
п'ятій
take
будуть надавати
consultations.
допомогу,
It's
яку вони
Article
будуть
4.
вважати за
And in
необхідну.
Article 5 they
Тобто,
state that they are
припустимо,
going
що якщо би
to
якась
give
така ситуація
assistance which
відбулася
they
стосовно
deem
якоїсь Балтійської
necessary.
країни там, чи
So,
якоїсь
for
іншої
example, if
країни,
it is any
ну,
Baltic
країни би
countries
далі
or any
вирішували,
other
яким би чином
countries,
їй
probably
допомогти в
they
тій конкретній
took the
ситуації. Не
same
факт, щоб всі
consultations, trying to
кинулися на
understand how,
бійку, так? Але те, що
what
поки що
should be
ніхто цього не хотів
protected.
попробувати,
So
в
far,
цьому є сила
nobody was
НАТО.
trying to
І
test
цього і не
this
хочуть пробувати.
might of
Тобто
NATO,
уряди
and
дуже
they're not
чітко це
going to
заявляють,
do
не
it.
хочуть
The
пробувати.
governments
Але є певна
claim it,
різниця,
they are
власне,
not
з поведінкою
going to try
населення.
it.
Ви
But
згадували про поляків,
there is different
нещодавно була
behavior. You have
Рейтер,
mentioned
здається,
Polish people.
публікували про американські,
Recently,
наприклад, настрої,
there
де
was the survey about
власне
American,
громадяни більш агресивно ставляться до цього питання.
attitude to
Я знаю, що
this, and
українська
Americans are
дипломатія
more
працює, і
aggressive
українська
about it. We
діаспора
know
працює в
that
низці
Ukrainian
інших
diplomacy
країн,
is
тому
working and Ukrainian
можливо,
diaspora
ми
is
будемо
working
бачити
in other
таку ситуацію. Я не
countries.
хочу обнадіювати тут,
I
але
do not
цілком
want to
ситуація
sound
може
over-optimistic,
змінюватися.
but probably
Але
the
принаймні з того,
situation
що ми
will change.
розуміємо зараз, прямо,
From
що
what we understand
допомога
now,
системами протиповітряної оборони, допомога з літаками,
talking about the
і
system of
ми
air
цілком
defense
зможемо
and
контролювати
planes, if
ситуацію
we
самі.
have it, we'll be able
Харківській
to
конференції
control the
Зеленський виступив,
situation
всі сказали, як
ourselves.
він сміє, виявилося все правильно.
Так.
Вчора він теж в
Zelensky
своєму
was
вечірньому зверненні сказав про те, що
accused of
виявилось
saying,
НАТО
what
слабеньке,
are you
а Євросоюз
doing, and
сильний.
he
Він
turned out
тут їх
to
просто
be
шпильку
right.
вставив. Це
And
дійсно правда, тому що якщо ми говоримо про НАТО, ми десь маємо на увазі
he
Сполучені Штати
mentioned
Америки.
that NATO is not that
Ну,
strong,
зрозуміло,
because
що це
when we
був
are
емоційний
talking
такий
about
заклик, але
NATO,
він був дуже
we also
правильним.
include
Так,
the US.
от ми
Probably
в тому
his
числі
address was too
неодноразово
emotional, but
говорили от про
definitely it
Німеччину,
was
коли наш посол
correct.
Мельник так
We
дуже
were talking about
недипломатично
Germany
поводився, але
when there
виявилося,
was
що
very
це є
undiplomatic behavior of
це була
our
добра
ambassador
стратегія таких
there,
фактів
but
перед
it turned
обличчям.
out that it
Так,
was a very
і
good
ніби здається, що в
strategy.
деякі моменти
And
просто інших слів
sometimes we understood that
німці не
he just
розуміли. Так,
couldn't
десь таку
search for
риторику
any
зараз
other
піднімає
words. The same
відповідно і офіс
rhetoric is
президента,
now
так, з тим, щоб
used
дуже
by
дуже
the
різко
presidential
апелювати.
office in
Ну,
order to
побачимо, чи
take
вона
very
виявиться
aggressive
успішною, але
appeal to
точно
our
таке
foreign colleagues.
мовчання
Let's
чи,
hope it
скажімо,
will be
погодження на це, воно не
successful,
буде
but
успішним.
definitely if we
Чи
keep
говорити про
silent,
те, що
we'll
НАТО
even
є
be less
слабким тут?
successful.
Ну ні, ми не
Is
можемо
NATO
цього говорити.
weak?
Так?
No, we
Знову
cannot
ж таки,
say that NATO
країни
is
мають
weak.
свій надійний
The
захист,
countries
вони
have
мають
their
набагато
own
більшу зброю, чи навіть
reliable
обіцяли нам.
protection.
Так,
They
тобто,
have even
згадаємо, подивимося, це те, що навіть було обіцяно в контексті
weapons and
допомоги,
arms
це
that
є
was
стара
expected to
зброя.
us.
Так, вони мають набагато
Okay,
сильніше
they
озброєння, і в разі
have
чого
very mighty
цілком
and powerful
можуть
weaponry,
протидіяти. Тим
and
більше ми
they
їм дуже сильно
definitely
допомогли,
can
знищивши дуже
counteract.
багато
We
російської
assisted
зброї,
them a
російських
lot,
військових. Тому я би
destructing
сказав,
lots of
що
Russian
їм нема про що
vehicles
хвилюватися.
and
Якщо би
equipment and troops. So
дійсно
they
йшло
have
питання
nothing to
про
worry
такої
about.
зупинки і
So
допомоги, то
if we are
принаймні те
talking
озброєння, яке ми можемо
about
використати із
their
системами, знову
support,
повторююся,
so
з
once
літаками,
again,
ми
the
цілком
planes,
можемо
the
приймати, і це буде дуже добра допомога.
anti-missile system
Можна
is really
сподіватися,
helpful.
фейк, не фейк, ми повідомляли з вами, обговорювали про
We
передачу
discussed
літаків
with you the
Україні
issue
та
about
те, що в Польщі буде
transfer
запасний
of
аеродром,
planes
потім
to
ряд
Ukraine, that
ЗМІ
there will
вийшли
be an
заголовком, що це
airdrome
все
in Poland.
неправда, нам нічого
Then some
не
Ukrainian mass
дають по
media
факту знайти
reported that
підтвердження
it's
офіційних
fake,
заяв, що нічого
and
не
we are
дають,
not
вже зараз
given.
складно,
And
всі
now it's
відмовчуються, яка
actually
ситуація
difficult
тут.
to find
Ну,
the
так і було.
information
Тобто
about
були ніби
this.
публічні
Yes, that was the
обіцянки,
case.
після
There
цього
were
були
some
ніби
public promises,
спростування,
that
але
there
якихось
were some
документів і конкретних заяв
dispels of these
ми до сих пір
promises,
не побачили.
and so far we did not have any
З того,
official
що зараз
documents
мені
and
принаймні
official
вдалося, знову ж таки,
statements.
з відкритих джерел, я жодними закритими джерелами не оперую,
Working
але
only with open forces, but
існувало, скажімо так, спростування не було, але не
there
було
were
підтвердження.
no dispels of
Це
this
вважає
information,
повір'я,
but there
так.
was no
Інше питання, наскільки вони
confirmation.
готові, так? Тобто, знову ж таки, були вже
Either.
якісь огляди
there were
власне
some,
воєнних експертів, я не є воєнним експертом, тут не можу сказати,
reviews,
наскільки ці стереобладнані, ці самі єги
explanations
є
of
готові до
foreign
взлітання.
experts.
Це вже інше.
It is
кількості
difficult
роботи
to say
фарах і
whether
четвірках, що потрібно для
the
того, щоб
planes
вони
are
вилітають,
good, whether
чи
they
є.
are
Так, тут
operational,
уже більше тактики і
etc.
стратегії.
So
Так.
here we are
По
talking about
Запорізькій
the
атомній
tactical issues.
електростанції
Запоріжжя
Росія
NPP.
дуже добре спрацювала на шантаж.
Russia
Вони
is very
влучили
included blackmailing, they hit the training building, the training premises, training center, and definitely the mass media were reporting that we are on the brink of man-made disaster. And lots of experts stated that it is impossible for this man-made disaster to happen because it's actually almost unreal to hit the very power unit and to cause explosion. Definitely NATO has better experts than we had. They understood that it was the blackmail
треба було так прошантажувати НАТО і показати нам на випередження, що от бачите, НАТО не купується на це, воно небо не закриває, що вам ще потрібно для того, щоб це небо все-таки було закритим. Піде Росія ще на якісь ще жорсткіші кроки, які зможуть НАТО змусити все-таки піти на крок закриття неба, чи немає таких варіантів?
Ну, я думаю, що найперше в питаннях закриття неба найбільше може зробити власне суспільство.
I think it's the society that can do the most about closing the sky. I mean, our people and also people in the partnership countries, our diaspora, the higher the approval ratings are, the approval ratings of voters to give the support to Ukraine, to bear increased prices for gas and bread, for some period of time. If there is resolution, the opinions will change faster. The issue of Russian blackmail and provocations, let's be honest, there are more to come. There will be numerous in the future, but what the situation has shown us is that we were focusing so much on Russia using the nuclear weapons, but the risks of such seizures and on normal behavior at nuclear power plants, that's another issue. Shelling is one problem, but having seized nuclear power plants, they can either on purpose or maybe inadvertently cause catastrophes. I for now refuse to make any forecasts, any logical things cannot be applied to Russia. So if we listen to what has been expressed, the idea for Lavrov and Kuleba to meet in Ankara, Turkey has been engaging more actively, and they have been engaged. So the information that I'm receiving from my colleagues, we are constantly keeping in touch. Turkey is quite ambivalent. It has been like that for a while. On the one hand, they are saying we are their friend, and Russia still remains their friend, and they're saying that we all need to be friends. So what we are currently witnessing there is quite a strong anti-American rhetoric, which is quite widespread among the citizens. The analysts are quite decided. So Turkey is trying to win something for themselves, but our diplomats need to get engaged with them more actively. So Turkey is having a tense relationship with America and also with the EU. There are issues with currency. So if now the United States and the EU turn a blind eye to what is happening in Turkey just to motivate them to have a more clear position with respect to Ukraine, I think they will be doing something. They will be putting in effort. Thus, there are these proposals to hold the meeting in Turkey, so that there is a platform where the current Turkish position could be quite beneficial. I don't have any confirmation of this, but definitely these ideas are discussed behind the curtains. They are being discussed with respect to Ukraine and Turkey being more open, but how successful is that? But again, Erdogan is wanting the dividends, he's waiting for them. But again, the charter flights flying from Moscow to Turkey one by one, that's another issue. The other question I have for you is that yesterday we were all discussing the technogenic catastrophe and the nuclear power plant, and it was a slow news
заявку,
day,
але
and
поки що
it
воно
was
висить у повітрі.
expected by people that the EU would be responding more swiftly about our application for the EU accession. It was just the European Parliament which supported us, but they don't make this decision. They don't have the authority to make such a decision. Now it's the time for the EU member states to discuss our future membership. It will be up to each individual member state to decide. So it may be a long process. Сигнал пропав. So it may take some time for the countries to decide, and Georgia and Moldova also decided to follow our suit, and there will be active pressure exerted. So it's a question to the Europeans how this discussion will be formulated. Will it be an associated trio which gives us an advantage because we can unite our efforts and put pressure on different fronts? So if we are lacking in Ukrainian diplomacy in some countries, then we can be reinforced by Moldova and Georgia. Or there might be another option for each of the countries to deal with this process individually. So the associated trio in this or that way will be moving forward. Our partner countries are using this situation, which is a good thing. So what about Germany? What do you mean, what about Germany? The German position will be quite interesting. They have already given us the weapons. There's been rumors, I don't know whether it's been confirmed, that many of those weapons cannot be actually used in fight. It was reported by Spiegel, which is pro-Russian. I don't know whether this is confirmed, but the very fact itself that they are giving us weapons is showing us the transformations, extreme transformations happening in Germany. Some couple weeks ago, it would be an impossible situation. They were so skeptical, no weapons at all for Ukraine, and now this change. The other thing is that Germany, again, pressurized by the partners, their society is not very active in Germany, but in some of their cities, especially where they have the Ukrainian diaspora, we can witness people taking to the streets, protesting, but still the Germans overall are more reserved. So this is the pressure of the Western partners. Germany doesn't want to be expelled from this discourse, but their position will still be very important. This is one of those countries that others listen to. It seems to me that psychologically they are more concerned than we are. It's us that are being shelled, not them. But the question is, can Ukraine, after the end of this war, become the second European front? If, for instance, the European countries would like to show how a normal, civilized country can live. So how do you think, will the Europeans be able to invest more in Ukraine to show
the difference between Ukraine and Russia. We shouldn't be waiting for that. We should be demanding that. We should be demanding that Ukraine be included in all infrastructure projects, energy networks. Let's be honest. We are in a situation that we are currently having for the reason of our partners who were doing negotiations. We were warning them for years that negotiations would not work, but they had other motivations, which is not a bad thing. Diplomacy is always necessary, but at the same time, it's also good to have some kind of stick in addition to the carrot. But our partners did not have the stick, the proper stick they could have used. So we should be demanding more investment. Whether they would be ready to do that, I'm not sure. In the current situation, we are receiving investments, credit support. We see clearly that the support is there, but what should be done, including by our Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which is raising these issues, we need some specific plans. Let's call them a provisional Marshall Plan or whatever. We need to negotiate about specific plans from our partners, and we need to do that immediately. I would not be calling this moment convenient because it's a war happening here, but still we have this corridor. So coming back to Mr. Pashinyan from Armenia, who was very supportive of Putin, we realize that some of those in the Armenian government are still pro-Russian, but we are reading reports that Armenia is one of the first one to arrest a Russian civil plane. So it looks like Armenia is trying to adjust to the trend. So sanctions will affect everyone. This is not a change in the trends. This is the issue of sanctions being effective. Sanctions will be very painful, not just for the Russians, but also for those cooperating with them. So all those companies and banks leaving the Russian market, we should be very reserved in saying that it's not a pro-Ukrainian position, it's them being afraid of the sanctions. But again, this works to our benefit. It goes for the Armenians. I wouldn't say it's a U-turn for them, it's just them being afraid of losing because of the sanctions. Plus, they realize that Russia will not be supporting them as much as it used to be. Armenia is quite dependent on Russia, on international trade, so it is quite painful for them. So, rephrasing what Putin said, this legendary phrase, whether you like it or not, you have to do it. You have no way out. 3 days ago, the Kazakh media were discussing involvement of Kazakhstan. It looks like Tokayev will not be engaging. He has cooperation with China, then again the USA. Kazakhstan is afraid. Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, and some experts, their experts, were saying that they were eager to provide weapons and even some personnel to fight this war here in Ukraine, but we don't even see the troops moving, not to mention entering the war, but their governments are very pro-Russian. I'm not an expert on these countries, so I cannot tell you for sure, but if we speak about this region, it's the same dilemma that the West has with China and Russia. We need to realize that everybody who will be doing trade and each dollar or euro contracted with the businesses or authorities in Russia, all this money will be sanctioned. So this is fear speaking. Plus, there is China there. Why be pro-Russian if you can be pro-China and the Chinese are ready to give money. So it's the analogy with the cryptocurrency when the crypto stock markets, if you steal money from them, you cannot use this currency. It is marked. So this is the same case for Russian currency. If you are trying to use this Russian money, nobody will allow you to do that. It's kind of marked because it's under sanctions. It's also the issue of Russian reserves. Russia has quite significant reserves which they cannot use. It doesn't mean that they will not be able to find some channels. We have the example of North Korea, but they will not be able to use those reserves to full extent. Today with Stanislav, we discussed the change of tactics by the Russian soldiers, and Stanislav told me that they will be targeting civilians and bombarding the cities, destroying them. So that begs a logical question that my acquaintances are asking me because they think I'm more knowledgeable in the military as a captain. So if to localize, our proximity to Poland and the West in general, does it guarantee more security to us than to the territories that are currently being bombarded? If Russians want to strike the west of Ukraine and they miss and they hit Poland, then definitely there will be a response from the NATO countries. We are not that close to Poland. It's 70 kilometers from the border. It's quite a long distance for them to miss. But again, a disclaimer, I'm not a military expert. I'm not a military person myself. In order to make a precise hit, they would need to use their planes, and in that case, we will welcome them, you know. But this threat of distant flights, this distance of 70 kilometers, those earth-air missiles, they might be a threat. But on the other hand, it's not just the artillery, it's not just the aviation. In Ukrainian war, Ukrainians are showing one simple thing, that artillery is not so much the mother of war, but also the ground forces contribute a lot. Just Ukrainian ground forces are repelling the enemy. On the ground, they are repelling the enemies. They prevented the enemy from seizing us. This is currently the defense stage. So our ground forces prevented the Russians from following in on their plans to take over the entire territory in 2 days. Yes, some towns are seized. They are under siege both in the north and in the south. There is the situation with Kherson, but nevertheless, they cannot follow the plan that they initially had. And if we speak of Western Ukraine, it will be impossible for them to advance to our region so quickly. And as far as I understand, they don't have enough soldiers, and even the Belarus soldiers refuse to move forward. So if we look at this as a military operation, then the bombardments make no sense. But on the other hand, the shelling of Kyiv, Chernihiv, Kharkiv are senseless from the standpoint of war. This is not a war, this is blatant terrorism of Russia, which should be recognized as a terrorist country by the United States. There's no other way to interpret this. Let me just add that Mr. Danilov has stated that 95% of the Russian personnel and tactical groups that were amassed on the Ukrainian borders have already entered the fighting on Ukraine. The ballistic missiles
на складах, воно не завжди добре обслуговується, і вони дуже залежать від повітря, від погоди, аеродинаміки, розлітної дуже великі, тому до Польщі може долетіти, бо летить це все якраз навісом,
can even get to Poland. That's why they don't use them as actively. So we say there's politics, there's war, and if war doesn't help, then there's terror. And Russia has shown that they are incapable of strong war. That's why they've resorted to terrorism. And just to add, Ukrainian soldiers have already launched a counterattack. We are already launching counterattacks in 3 directions. We have a traditional question. So the community of the Ukrainian Catholic University, how can we help? We are continuing our work, so if you'd like to learn more, go to our Facebook page, go to our website. The information about humanitarian aid is constantly being updated. Regarding the news, we would like to launch a campaign for us to have a closer look at our partners at scientific networks so that we are able to identify pro-Russian agents who are either publicly supporting Putin or sitting on the fence saying they are not involved in politics, they are politically neutral, so we are trying to put this question on the table. Now is not the time to stay silent. The academic community, the scientific community in Russia, which could have done it, they are staying silent. So education and science, which has the intellectual and moral authority to do that, they did not prevent this from happening. We know how the Ukrainian Catholic University community is able to pressurize the international community so that there are some positive changes. So we had a conversation with the vice rector of the Ukrainian Catholic University, so glory to Ukraine, glory to its heroes. So news about Kherson and Melitopol TV channels have been captured by the occupiers, so you should not be watching their TV channels and also going to their platforms. So we have proof for Melitopol that Russians have seized the TV tower. I would now suggest that we watch the briefing by Irina Vereshchuk telling us about the green humanitarian corridors so that the citizens can be transported out of the Donetsk region. Dear Ukrainians, good morning.
Міжнародного
We have
комітету
been
Червоного
waiting
Хреста,
for the official
тому,
statement
отримавши його,
of the
можемо
Red Cross
зробити наступну
International
заяву.
Committee. Having
Ми
received this
досягли
statement,
домовленостей
I can tell you
про
the following. We
створення
had
гуманітарного
reached
коридору
agreement
з
on the
9
creation
годин
of
ранку
a
за українським
humanitarian
часом
corridor
сьогодні,
starting from
5
9
березня,
a.m.
у
Ukrainian
2
time.
напрямках.
Today on March the 5th in two
Ми
directions,
погодили за
Volnovakha and
посередництвом
Mariupol,
Міжнародного комітету
with the
Червоного
mediation
Хреста
of the
маршрути, як
Red
буде
Cross
відбуватися рух
International
колони,
Committee. We have
як буде
agreed on
відбуватися
the
завезення
routes
гуманітарних грузів по
on
цьому
the
каналу
transportation of
і отримали підтвердження від
cargo,
російської
and we have
сторони.
received
Отже,
confirmation from the
станом на
Russian
зараз
side. So
маршрути
as of
будуть
now, the
відбуватися
routes
за наступними
will be
напрямками:
happening in the following
Маріуполь,
directions.
Нікольське,
Маріуполь,
Розівка,
Нікольське,
Більмак,
Розівка,
Пологи,
Більмак,
Оріхів, Запоріжжя.
Запоріжжя.
Це перший канал.
That's the first
Ми
channel.
плануємо вивести
We
біля
are
200
planning
тисяч
to have
людей.
up to
Наступний маршрут
200,000 people
Волноваха,
evacuated. The next route
Валер'янівка,
Волноваха,
Новоандріївка,
Валер'янівка,
Кирилівка,
Новоандріївка,
Вугледар,
Кирилівка,
Покровськ
Вугледар,
і
Покровськ
Запоріжжя.
and Запоріжжя.
Тут ми плануємо
Here
евакуювати
we are planning
більше
to
15
evacuate
тисяч
more than
осіб.
15,000
Червоний Хрест
people.
забезпечує
The Red Cross
гарантію режиму припинення вогню. Червоний Хрест буде присутнім і буде на чолі колони, яка буде рухатись за вказаними маршрутами. Відповідні місцеві адміністрації, а саме ДЦА Донецької області на чолі з паном Кириленко Павлом розпочали режим оповіщення, а також збору. Точки збору центральній площі Волновахи і Маріуполя. Я дякую усім волонтерам, Українському Червоному Хресту, всі, хто долучалися до цього процесу, бо він дійсно був спільним і важким. Однак, під час проведення режиму тиші наші військові повідомляють, що в районі заявленого маршруту російські війська використовують режим тиші і просуваються вперед. Я хочу звернутися до російської влади і сказати наступне. Ми домовились за посередництвом Червоного Хреста, використовуючи міжнародні конвенції, що буде дотримано режим тиші. Там не має бути жодних просувань російських військ. Ми використовуємо такий канал для того, аби евакуювати цивільних, жінок, дітей, а також довести гуманітарні грузи до тих, хто залишився. Це медикаменти і їжа. Тому ще раз звертаюсь до російської влади припинити просування своїх військ, якщо таке відбувається, зараз ми перевіряємо цю інформацію, і дати можливість спокійно провести евакуацію людей. За цим спостерігає весь світ. Я щиро сподіваюся, що такий перший крок, який, я сподіваюся, завершиться позитивно, і люди отримають прихисток, а не будуть тижнями сидіти під завалами в підвалах, без води, без зв'язку і без їжі, матиме продовження. Ми збираємо інформацію з усіх регіонів. Суми, Чернігів, Запоріжжя, ми знаємо, пам'ятаємо Київська область, Димир, Богданівка, Херсон. Ми всіх вас знаємо, пам'ятаємо і розробляємо маршрути евакуації. Давайте самоорганізовуватись, давайте будемо працювати разом і будемо співпрацювати з Червоним Хрестом, з міжнародними організаціями, які мають стати посередником для гарантування режиму припинення вогню. Дякую. Слава Україні!
Повертаємося до студії телеканалу «Перший західний», радіо «Перше» на 88,2 channel in Lviv and Brody and other regions of Lviv that are currently using our signal for broadcast, because we understand that updated and verified information is very important. We have a very active day here, and our new guest, the head of the Palace of Arts in Lviv, and you are now having your own position, the head of the humanitarian headquarters. So we have a number of questions to you. So the Palace of Arts has the area of 9,000 square meters where you provided help to those who need it, and people can go there and donate something. So logistically, how have you organized this? So first of all, we have opened this humanitarian headquarters. I think it was 10 a.m. in the morning of the first day of the bombardment. I had a meeting with the head of the regional state administration when I got his approval for the launch of the headquarters, and it's day 10 of the work already, right? So we are receiving cargo coming in from abroad. We are also doing transportation to the locations where our military men are stationed. We are also working closely with the railway station. We were transporting help to the border, food and everything else necessary, like warm clothes. We are working within the tasks that we receive from the Lviv city administration.
And if during the first 3 days we were receiving humanitarian aid from our residents and entrepreneurs, then in the past 5 days we've been receiving cargo and humanitarian aid from abroad. So this support has become more active over the past several days. So in the past 2 days we've had journalists from almost all European countries observing, watching, documenting, 300 volunteers unloading the trucks, sorting the humanitarian aid. So how is this done logistically? We have a security service that is checking the trucks once they arrive, because yesterday, for instance, we had a warning that one of the trucks was mined, so we had to check that. We have different blocks. We have blocks for food, blocks for warm clothes, a block for military equipment in case we get some. Then we record everything. We have a group of people that are giving out the help. We have representatives from the city administration. We have e-lists of shipments, we have consignment documents, we have people who are responsible for accepting the shipments. If we speak about trucks, there are different people responsible for trucks, minivans and cars coming in with the humanitarian aid. Also, as far as security is concerned, we have video surveillance, we have sirens in case there is an air raid threat. And we also constantly gave out notifications. We have the area of 9,000 square meters and 3 floors. So starting from 10 a.m., we have a list of volunteers compiled. Currently, we have 300 volunteers. So if I want to become a volunteer, what should I do? You show up and you can sign up to a different block. Food, drugs, being a guard. So out of the 300 volunteers, 250 have already completed all the training, so you don't need to explain additional information to them. So any checking, if there is a local community, like entrepreneurs, for example, getting together and bringing some humanitarian aid. So how do you check those shipments? Is there any procedure for checking? And can you accept such humanitarian aid? We are working with Червоноград, Сокаль and other towns. It seems to me that it was 2 days ago that we received 2 trucks from Sokal, and we had one of the trucks unloaded at our headquarters, and the other one was immediately sent to the railway station. A day before yesterday, I think we have already sent more than 200 cars carrying up to 300 kilograms of different goods. What was very pleasant is that our trucks have the insignia, they are marked as humanitarian aid, and we received a call from one of the block posts saying that 20 tons of humanitarian aid was received at the block post. And journalists from your channels, the channel have visited us for several times, and we have had journalists from European countries, and I'm telling everyone that we have consignment documents for all the shipments, that everything is recorded. Do you have cases of regular citizens showing up, bringing some kind of bag or purse with
with things or people coming in and just donating money. So during the first days we had regular Levites and entrepreneurs, and in the past several days it's become more large scale with trucks coming in from abroad. So we've received help from Lithuania, and I'm just passing my regards to people in Lithuania when they were sending this shipment to Ukraine. They said, "Glory to Ukraine." We received this support from Lithuania. So on the basis of our center, we have united so many people. One of our volunteers became a father yesterday, for instance. Then representatives from a flower shop just came to our volunteers, female volunteers, and gifted them with flower bouquets. And everybody sang the anthem of Ukraine. We prayed together. The entire world was praying for Ukraine the day before yesterday. So if we speak about regular Levites, during the first days we received some accumulators for the military men, and we had this elderly woman, 80 years old, and she brought 3 pillows. It wasn't so much about those pillows, it's just about the lady making her contribution to our victory. I'm in awe of such people, and I'm convinced that not only will we win, but also Ukraine will become the center of unity, the center for building a society that will be the society of kindness, not just a nation that knows how to fight. So how do you receive information from Kharkiv, Chernihiv, Kherson, Kyiv? So at 9:30 we have the organizational meeting, 9:30 a.m. So we meet with representatives from the military administration, so we agree on the unloading, on the sending of shipments, we decide on the tasks for the day. So we have sent 20 tons of humanitarian aid to Chernihiv today, plus we receive requests and we try to contact with military administrations from other regions, Odessa, Chernihiv. They are in communication with the military administration, and the administration sends the request to you, and you organize everything logistically. Plus, more than half have a direct contact with us. I will be finishing, so if we are pressed for time, no. I'm looking at the clock because I know that you have to unload the truck at 1 p.m. That's why we don't want to keep you with us for too long. So today at 12:45, in 8 minutes, the regular training will start at the tank factory at Tryska Street in Lviv. These are the sanctioned trainings, so please don't try and put up any comments on the internet. This is important because we receive a lot of information about explosions, about minings, etc. No, this will be training. Also, we work with refugees. Refugees come to us to get some help, to get something for their kids, and we have separate volunteers working in that direction. Volunteers are packing food for the military, and also during the meeting I have ordered to pack some small backpacks for the kids that are coming to the city with some food and toys. It's very important that you touched upon that. First of all, the refugees coming to the city, we understand they may not be having much on them because they were fleeing their home, which may have been shelled. So I have this experience. I am accommodating people who have escaped from those regions and they don't even have diapers. There are people who have no friends or acquaintances here and they need help. So should they go to your headquarters and how do you check their identity? Because I have to tell you, there are bad people on both sides. How do you know it's not a person from Lviv coming and asking for help?
Пунктів розміщення. Це
We
наші
have
школи. Я буду називати
many more accommodation centers organized.
На звернення надаємо матраси,
So
тобто все
we provide them with mattresses, with bed linen. I think that only yesterday we have given away up to 1,000 bed linen sets, duvets and pillows. So we will be transporting those things to the new accommodation centers. We have wounded soldiers being brought back, so we are collecting everything necessary to treat them. So the communication takes place, and I was already mentioning the railway station where we are in close contact, in direct contact with the military administration. So the refugees coming to the city, they can directly approach you. That's one option. The other option, if they have found accommodation in Lviv, either free of charge or for some money, they can ask for some help once they present their passport. Also, there are accommodation centers, places where they can stay for the night, in kindergartens and schools. So the school where my kids go currently accommodates 80 people. So if there are some additional needs, the head of the school, the principal of the school can ask you for some, let's say, mattresses, bed linens, prams, etc. So we are creating a dozen of such accommodation centers. So these are different schools, and we have very many volunteers coming in and taking care of it. So all these people are verified volunteers. So if you are a volunteer, we ask for the copy of their passport, and we also ask for reference. So it has to be a kind of an official representative. We don't have that much time to check all the documents, but at least we do some checking. I was today, for instance, having a conversation with Chernihiv and trying to make sure that the shipment gets to them. How do you think, what are the most emergent needs, both for refugees and for our soldiers? Because I was witnessing how Stanislav spent 2 days looking for people that our soldiers on the front lines need. So what is something that people need badly? We need things that could help stop bleeding. We need the tourniquets, we need the scissors. We are talking about these modern tourniquets. These are specific medical kits. There is kind of a bad need for these things, and we are having a problem. So people from Poland will be donating some of these things to us. There will be medical cars coming in, and they are also ready to take our people back to Poland. And also we receive requests for radio stations. I think that we have given away up to 10 bulletproof vests and 10 helmets. So our
our specialty is more food and clothes.
Блоки це є консерви
And
або
I
продукти
just mentioned that we are
довготривалого
working
використання.
with food, and what is important is that we have food with long shelf life.
Ми
We need
позавчора
some
бачили, я
canned
ж дав
products.
команду не приймати
So yesterday
теплий
I
одяг, тому що зараз
already
величезна
ordered that
фауна
nobody bring
одягу є
warm
десь фурна,
clothes
десь 80 тонн,
because
напевно,
we
є
have
забезпечені.
some
Ось,
80
але ми
tons of
все-таки
clothes
приймаємо
collected
це матраси,
already,
одіяла, так
but
далі в
we
рамках
still collect
поселення. І так далі. Це
mattresses
має
and
величезний
duvets.
зараз попит.
And that is in high demand. Bed linen,
Я на завершення
pillows.
вас запитаю щодо вашого телефону.
Towards the
Він
end of
вас
our
витримує від
conversation,
ранку до
I
вечора,
would
бо
like to
обласна
ask you, how do
адміністрація,
you
чому питаю?
manage
Обласна
to cope with all
адміністрація
of
дає дуже часто щодня повідомлення,
Because,
і ваш мобільний
every
телефон,
day,
він у
the
відкритому доступі,
messages
як
are
і
put up
телефони
by the
інших
military
керівників
administration,
штабів по
and
районах.
your
і
phone
військових
number
частин.
is put up on the screens, so how do you cope with all the phone calls? So yesterday a train came in from Kharkiv, and I think I received some 40 phone calls, people asking for help, for transportation, for accommodation. So I'm sending them phone calls of our logistics guys who have been identified by the military administration. People call me back thanking. Plus, we have two employees, one working abroad. Anatoly Ignatovich, yes, had the Department of Regional Administration. So you know him, right? Lviv is like a big village.
Вибач, Анатолію, здали твої контакти, ну, перепрошуємо, такий час, вони і так є в мережі відкриті.
І так само в нас є дві дівчинки, які ведуть,
And you know, we also have two girls
шукаємо також житло для
who are looking for the accommodation.
нам телефонують, ми також
When we are given calls, we are trying to
також
find
забезпечити.
shelters for the people. Thank you, Yuri, for coming to our studio. We understand that you're tough. This is Yuri Wiesniak, the director of the Palace of Arts in Lviv, and now the head of the humanitarian headquarters, and we will keep monitoring the changes. And if you have any urgent needs, please use our studio, our broadcast, because a lot of people are willing to help. Thank you. Let me tell my own story from yesterday. My father and my wife decided to cook a lot of food, to cook vareniki, and they didn't know where to give it. And we asked them to freeze all this food, and because there is a lot of food now, but in 2 weeks there will be not that much. And close to Chernihiv, there is information that the pilot has been caught captive by local residents after the fighter was attacked. So you can see the person who has come to kill peaceful residents. And here is some information from the capital. You can see Vitaly Klitschko presenting the new Ukrainian flag about Lviv, and the information that the flag is no longer there is not true. Also, the security guys say that the Russian occupants have started a new wave of disinformation. Please listen attentively, and whoever you come across some messages, ban them. So we are waiting for the information about the secret prison of the intelligence service, and the prisoners will give a video, and of course these captives will be the representatives of breakaway regions of Donetsk and Luhansk regions. But actually they decided that the security guys decided that the videos from real captives could be taken and given. Also, the enemies are creating a lot of fake pages of the Ukrainian authorities where seemingly our officials and military men, under the threat of physical violence, urge people to collaborate with the enemy. And I will tell about the capitulation of Kyiv. And let us remind that the mayor of Kupiansk got a suspicion of treason on that very first day. Kherson and Melitopol are the sources of main fakes with the Russian TV, because they have captured TV towers there and TV equipment. So if something is coming from these sources, don't trust this.
Російські телеканали і 6 радіостанцій для того, щоб ретранслювати пропаганду на території України.
Продовжимо зараз розмову про гуманітарну допомогу і не тільки, також про блокпости, про наші автозаправні станції, про продуктові магазини. Але поки не оголошуємо нашого гостя, маємо коротеньке відео про потреби, про які говорив Юрій Різник, а ми скористаємося зі Станіславом цією паузою для того, щоб з'ясувати одну річ, яка нас турбує з вчорашнього вечора, а яку розкажемо вам після того, коли подивимося відео.
Львів Open Lab – простір інноваційної освіти, тепер місце для волонтерів. Розташований на вулиці Червоної Калини, 58. Сюди можете приходити, щоб проводити зварювальні роботи, плести сітки, виготовляти кастети. А для цього потрібні тканина, сітки, нитки, ножиці, дерев'яні бруси, дерево, пиломатеріали, метал, профільна труба, арматура, швелера. Контактні номери телефонів 063 434 62 86 або 063 106 72 96. Плести сітки можна за адресами: Вахнянина, 29, Порохова вежа, Лазаренка, 42, Героїв Крут, 27, Івана Виговського, 34. Долучитися до виготовлення коктейлів Молотова можна у театрі «Пива Правда». Приносити з собою пляшки, пінопласт і тканину. Воїни потребують медикаменти, ібупрофен, парацетамол, знеболюючі, жарознижуючі, ліки від діареї, бинти, нурофен, пакети для крові, крапельниці, катетери, перев'язувальні матеріали, еластичні бинти, спиртові серветки, марлі, турнікети, гемостатики, інсулінові сенсори, тест-смужки та голки, мелоксикам, ципрофлоксацин, новаліс, кейвер, гемостатичний бинт, назофарингіальна трубка, ларингеальна трубка, набір для конікотомії, декомпресійна голка, оклюзійна наліпка, термоковдра, ноші типу юта, шийний комір, пояс, бандаж, додаткові медичні рюкзаки, додаткові ампульниці, набори для переливання крові, знеболювальне в ампулах, тактичні ножиці, пінцети, пластирі для ран, хлоргексидин, лідокаїн, кетанов, дексаметазон, рушники з мікрофібри, багаторазові набори посуду, відра, господарські бочки, миючі засоби для тіла, зубні пасти та щітки, підгузки та прокладки, паперові рушники, антисептики, маски багаторазові та одноразові, спирт. Продукти, консерви, крупи, сухпайки, сублімати, кава, чай, енергетики, цукор, батончики, їжа, яка не псується, вода. Інше – павербенки, скотч, ліхтарики, спальники, ковдри, папір А4, свічки, пусті мішки для піску, ноші, ноутбуки, дошки, батарейки, свічки, ліхтарики. Амуніція в пріоритеті. Термобілизна великих розмірів, взуття 44-го і більше розмірів, великі теплі шкарпетки, теплий одяг великих розмірів, фліски, наколінники, рукавиці, шоломи, бронежилети, носилки, турнікети, квадрокоптери, аптечки, рації, тактичні штани. Спальні мішки, карімати, бронежилети, біноклі, форми, рація GSM, нічні візори, спальники, підсумки для магазинів, приціли, тепловізори нічного бачення, ножі, балаклави, маски. Куди приносити і до кого звертатись? Військовий госпіталь Личаківська, 26, будинок воїна, Короленка, 1А, громадська організація Галицька броня, Антоненка Давидовича, 8А, вулиця Джерельна, 23, вулиця Під Голоском, 20, Шептицького, 17А. Осередки пласту, адреси, куди можете приносити речі, знайдете на сайті, посилання на який бачите на екрані. На Львівщині також працюють штаби гуманітарної допомоги. Львівський район, місто Львів, вулиця Коперника, 17. Дрогобицький район, місто Трускавець, вулиця Бориславська, 1, Народний дім. Золочівський район, місто Золочів, вулиця Чорновола, 3, Золочівська РДА, актова зала. Стрийський район, село Слобідка, вулиця Колеси, 6. Самбірський район, місто Самбір, вулиця Мазепи, 8, перший поверх. Червоноградський район, місто Сокаль, вулиця Шептицького, 26. Яворівський район, місто Яворів, вулиця Маковея, 62, територія Кен-Пак.
Повертаємось у прямий ефір. ТРК «Перший захід».
So we are back to the studio and let's start with Mariupol. Evacuation of peaceful residents from the city is postponed because the Russian side is not following the silence mode and keeps firing at Mariupol and the suburbs. And additional information on evacuation will be placed later. And now the residents are asked to stay in some shelters, not to be fired at. This is the information from the mayor. The Russian side has not stopped firing in Zaporizhzhia region, to which people were supposed to be evacuated, and they also keep firing at Mariupol. And let's get back to our region, to what is being done by Lviv region for the Russian occupant to understand it as quickly as possible that it's not a place for him. Here is Stepan Kuybida, Director of the Department of Economic Policy of the Lviv military administration. Here, glory to Ukraine, glory to here. So what is happening with you? We had Yuri Bizek as our guest, with whom we spoke about humanitarian aid. We have understood that the logistics is already there with the headquarters. What about the problems from your point of view? What should we focus on? Well, in fact, I was listening to your interview with Yuri, and this story is really true. But for your understanding and for the understanding of our audience, I must tell that Lviv and Western regions are now becoming the transport and logistic hub in the rear that will provide hotspots with the foodstuffs and with things which are necessary there. You've been right in saying that logistics is there, humanitarian centers are working. We have already got the mechanism, and we understand what quantities we've got, and in case we have a specific need, we apply an already developed mechanism. We either voice this information here in the studio, or we speak about that on our Facebook pages, which, by the way, have been very, very active with very good communication. And I would ask the residents not to watch some advertisements, seemingly messages from the administration, but work with our web pages to avoid fakes. Yeah, let's pause for a moment. That's what we were trying to clarify. We got the information that one of the public organizations, which we don't know, was advertising the post of the Department of Economic Policy about the need for specific things. So on our part, we would also urge you to use the official source, which is Lviv Regional Military State Administration in Facebook. Please look for the information only there and react to that need. Maybe this public organization really wants to help disseminate information, but just to prevent certain things from going wrong, react only to the official messages on the official webpage. The other thing we'd like to mention is that we've had a meeting today with the representatives of our fueling stations and Naftogaz. And generally, we have a whole unit controlling those issues, but nothing will replace live communication. So we have heard about some of their problems which they face when they try to deliver fuel or replace the source of delivery, and we are going to establish communication with our foreign colleagues for us to have lubricants and fuel brought to Ukraine as humanitarian aid or as procurement. Also, it is agreed that at every fueling station we will have a certain unburned reserve stock which cannot be used. It will be the reserve for the needs of some critical situations, certain moment X. The restrictions that we had, that was the restriction of 20 liters, we will still keep them. And the third thing is that we decided that communication would be going only via the military administration, because unfortunately we have already seen some abuse. запити від якихось, я не буду ідентифіковувати, хто це, щоб зараз це не набуло широкого розголосу, але від певних осіб, так, які давали запит на АЗС, АЗС з доброго українського серця їм це допомагало, а ми розуміли, що це не настільки критично необхідно в цей момент саме в цей підрозділ, позаяк треба брати на інші. Тому зараз у нас є утворена певний наш майданчик, на якому ми комунікуємо, і ці всі речі будуть дуже чітко публікуватися, і рішення буде приймати керівництво військової адміністрації для того, щоб якраз оцих дисбалансів не виникало.
Є потреба у підрозділі, він звертається військова адміністрація, військова адміністрація вивчає потребу, нагально звертається до автозаправної станції, заправляють і все.
І останнє, так само ми, скажімо так, простими словами, за тими чи іншими службами закріпили ті чи інші мережі автозаправочних станцій. Тобто хтось безпосередньо працює з ДСНС, хтось працює з Нацгвардією, хтось працює з національною поліцією. Всі це зрозуміли, тобто між собою тепер є чіткі правила гри, немає ніяких дурних запитань чи непорозумінь.
Кошти на ці всі заправки вистачає, звідки воно все йде?
Ну, станом на сьогодні вистачає. Ми використовуємо різні джерела, так? Перше, ми зараз задіємо обласний ресурс, який є наявний. Друге, ми будемо використовувати ті ресурси, які є відповідно з державного бюджету безпосередньо нашого організованого формування. Є благодійники, які допомагають коштами і безпосередньо вже закупляють тої чи іншої мережі, тобто формують певний запас. Ну і та допомога, яка знаходиться за кордоном. Вона поки що не така значуща, якщо говорити про цифри, але ми якраз будуємо ці комунікаційні
And there is a specific question about aid, because that's what we are working with. Ніби в тебе всі питання дуже звичні.
And you normally ask provocative questions and very specific questions. Well, maybe that's true. It must be a compliment paid to me. So, Книгарня Лева, which is a publishing office, they bring books here and women from Poland ask them to provide some Ukrainian books with fairy tales for children. The regional administration have helped with this, and today or tomorrow we will send these books to them. So are there any similar addresses from Ukrainians when they need help with the documents, with the transfer of some things from Ukraine abroad? Well, over these recent 10 days, I've had such a wide palette of issues. I personally didn't get any demand like this one, but I got questions as to how documents, how certificates should be filled out, how permission for weapons could be obtained. So the questions which I'm not actually familiar with, and I can't give the answer. Different sorts of questions. But anyway, are you sending anything to Poland or no? We've got a wide cooperation with the Polish side. On their basis, we have arranged several logistic hubs, and we communicate with our diaspora, telling that these are the hubs to bring all humanitarian aid to. And then we, using our logistic services, ensure transfer of this humanitarian aid to the regions of Ukraine where people need it. Yuri Vizniak, the head of the Palace of Arts, now the head of the humanitarian headquarters, has mentioned that their headquarters deals with medications, drugs, food, and clothes. But what about the needs of the military men? If you want to help with this, there are 7 humanitarian headquarters located in the so-called Ryan centers or district centers, and these are the headquarters that perform the functions you mentioned. In simple words, that is the first social need displaced persons have. But that doesn't mean that they cannot be working for the servicemen and for our military units, for the armed forces of Ukraine. If there is a need for that, they keep working on that as well.
Оскільки в нас була така насправді доволі цікава проблема, коли якесь угрупування, там, наприклад, вертольотів просили про допомогу, а ця допомога одночасно з'їжджалася з декількох джерел.
Asked for help. This help came from several sources. It's good that
It's not vice versa, that no help was provided. But there are also certain warehouses, and I cannot tell you about them, and they perform this collection function. The humanitarian aid is brought to a certain warehousing facility, and then we either bring this aid to the humanitarian headquarters, which we all know of, or to some military administrations whenever our colleagues from these administrations ask us for that. As far as help in the form of bulletproof vests, weapons is concerned, it's a special issue. And of course, the information about that is confidential.
Я чому запитую? Є
Why
випадки,
I'm
коли до нас
asking? The
телефонують,
point is that we are often given calls that, for example, in Zimnovoda, in Rudno, close to Lviv, in any inhabited settlement, they have got some humanitarian, they've got two guys going to the front line right tomorrow, and they need weapons, they need bulletproof vests. Well, of course, people with no bulletproof vests are not going to the front line because anyway, even they reach some interim point of dislocation, there are resources there to give them casks or to give them helmets and to give them bulletproof vests. And nobody needs to leave their houses in bulletproof vests. And you know, that is already some kind of hysterics when people were trying to find bulletproof vests anywhere. And therefore, you need to know what the situation really is like. Sometimes if bulletproof vests were brought, which actually cannot defend you, cannot protect you against anything. Don't be afraid of that. Don't be looking for the vests. This must be a real bulletproof vest, and you'll be given it. Yeah, our police sometimes has bulletproof vests which can protect them against the knife, but not against the gun. So that is the element of fear. If a person is going to the front line, half of the village is trying to find the bulletproof vest. Yes, that shows that our people are very conscious, and that's great. But you also need to stay cool and understand that sound logic is the main thing, and the people with sound mind will not let a soldier go without anything to the front line. You know, we have a lot of displaced persons in kindergartens and schools, and of course parents of children at schools have also joined their effort to help them, and that's logical because these are Ukrainians and not Russians. And there is a need for hot food, and parents can actually do this under the supervision of the school administration. If there is a need for warm clothes, the school administration may also address parents and delegate some of those duties, or the official representative of school could go to the humanitarian headquarters in Kovarnika 17 and take some things if that is there. Let me speak about the logistics for you and for the audience to understand what we're talking about. Let me start with the railway station because it is one of the hotspots receiving as many people as only possible. What happens there? When a train arrives, people leave the train and they have several options. The first option is that they may have a snack because there are special centers where some food is given, and we always bring tea, coffee, water there. There is also the center for mothers with children where they can take some pampers, some special food for children, for babies. So at least two options have been mentioned, so you are aware of what it is like. And you can also take a bus and go to the border, to cross the border and go to Poland. And the last option is, the last but one option is that you go to your relatives or to your friends, or you go to Arena Lviv, which now performs the role of the so-called distribution center. When you get to Arena Lviv, the options concerning snacks and food are also provided there. There is a team of people there who synchronize their work with us. And we have already had a talk with you and remember I said that we used all the administrative facilities, kindergartens, hostels, dormitories, schools. So there at a random view, they will help you to find out where you could go. There is a person responsible for every location. If it is a school, this is the headmaster who gives us a signal saying that he is in need for something, to have some mattresses, to have some food. And through communication with our humanitarian units, we somehow deal with this. Sometimes headmasters say that, okay, you guys, you have now got a lot of work to do, I will do it myself. One unit is not clear in this process. If a person comes and is supposed to be met by lead residents or people from Sabro Drohobych here, and they need to somehow get to the railway station, and we have the curfew time at that time, so how does it happen? Well, I had a meeting with the law enforcement agencies at the railway station and the national police and the patrol officers and National Guard. Everybody understands that nobody will give any permits to pass at the railway station. That's why they will treat this situation with responsibility, and they will just try to ensure order there with no conflicts, no litter in the railway stations. And the police officers also treat this situation with understanding. If you're a displaced person, they will be tolerant to you. You just show your documents and they make sure that everything is okay. They take your hand and you move on. But what about the relatives coming to take them, to pick them up? Because yesterday I had a post of Alexander Bozhik, our famous violin player. He was supposed to take a person from the railway station and the train was coming in the night time. He didn't have the permit. He is not a real resident. So how could this person get to the railway station and pick up the colleague coming with the train? Well, you should think about that in advance, and of course, you need to communicate with us to get this permit. Yes, this is the, you may give a call to the Lviv administration or to the hotline 112. And there have been cases like this, that's true, so we just try to identify a person. Of course, we always submit the list to the security service for them to check these people who are supposed to be given permits. Even if you're a famous person, well, that does make you exempt from responsibility. Yes, he cannot play a violin at the blockpost to show that you're a famous person. I would say that there is already some order with this. And, you know, sometimes I'm also surprised what is happening at those blockposts. The blockposts which have been registered by us are okay. There is absolute control there. You could check this yesterday. I'm the representative of the administration. I just showed my documents to the blockpost guys, and that's all right. But when you approach an unauthorized blockpost, let me not mention it, you don't have one police officer. You have a lot of people, a crowd of people coming up to you. I understand their motivation behind them, but this organization is really felt. And you need to explain to all of them who you are, that you're not a thief, not an occupant, and not a Muscovite, and only then you can move on. But this is time-consuming. So, as I've already mentioned, we will still work at the scheme of our authorized block posts. But that means that we will place the block posts in the places where it is really justified, even from the point of view of military actions, combat actions, God forbid, if they are here. Here is a funny story with block posts, because our commander said that actually the people at such unauthorized block posts cannot check documents, because they even don't know how forged documents look, what documents look like. The passport seemingly is the same, but police officers just feel intuitively, professionals feel intuitively that this document is forged. Yeah, that's true. And really, if the block post is well prepared, there is one person with the weapons keeping the car under the gun, and another person comes up to check the documents. It's not a show. And if there were several people with weapons at such unauthorized blockposts in the car, that would be a sad story with sad consequences. Thank you, Степанко Відбіда, head of the Department of Economic Policy of the Regional State Military Administration. Glory to Ukraine, glory to heroes. And we have Irina Vereshchuk's briefing about the firing of the humanitarian corridor by the Russian troops.
О 11:45 Російська Федерація почала обстріл міста Волновахи з важкого озброєння. Як ви знаєте, з 9 годин ранку, 5 березня, у нас була попередня домовленість про те, що ми створимо два гуманітарних коридори – Волноваха і Маріуполь. Я констатую той факт, що Росія порушила домовленості, навіть де посередництва Червоного Хреста не дотрималась взятих на себе зобов'язань і обстрілює місто Волноваха. Також у напрямку Маріуполь-Запоріжжя ведуться бої в районі населеного пункту Пологе-Оріхове, які унеможливлюють рух колони з Маріуполя до Запоріжжя. Ми звертаємось до російської сторони припинити обстріли, відвернути режим припинення вогню і дати можливість сформувати колони гуманітарного коридору для того, щоб діти, жінки і люди похилого віку змогли покинути населені пункти. Також звертаємось до Російської Федерації дати можливість з міста Дніпро та міста Запоріжжя направити гуманітарні вантажі, особливо які складаються з медикаментів, інсулін і так далі, а також продуктів харчування. Дякую.
Так просто кажуть, дурне якесь.
Повертаємося у студію телеканалу «Перший західний». Маємо кілька оперативних новин. Я не хочу просто з цієї поганої починати.
Я почну не зовсім з поганої. Це з питання того, як працює Служба безпеки України. Наразі два медіа повідомляють про те, що таке відбулося. Це «Українська правда», які, скажімо, можна довіряти в деяких питаннях, також повідомляє обозріватель, якому довіряти. Про що йде мова? Про те, що під час затримання Служби безпеки України застрелили члена української переговорної делегації Дениса Кірєєва. Він був першій переговорній делегації. Зараз на фото ви можете бачити цю людину над квадратиком. Позначена. Цікаво те, що коли наша делегація туди їхала, і давала перелік «Українській правді», коли вони спитали свого співрозмовника в силовому боці, що відбулося, і мені відповіли, він уже не віщик. Наразі немає офіційної інформації Служби безпеки, контррозвідки чи будь-яких інших силових структур про те, що відбувається і яка ситуація в цьому напрямку, але бачимо, з'являється в медіаполі, також будьте акуратні з інформацією, яка поширюється, також цікаве повідомлення.
Я хотіла тут з'ясувати, то виходить так, що Кірєєв міг зливати якусь інформацію російській стороні, що Служба безпеки його
provide the information to the Russian side, and there was some process of detaining by the security service guys, and during the detaining process he was killed. Maybe, but let's not think about politics, about him being a collaborationist, because I can already see a sudden political connection to several political parties. And redistribution of control over smuggling. Well, I think that we should think about the war, not about smuggling. No. And the Russian government flight has started. People have gone to the U.S. and there's no information coming either from Russia or from the U.S. that somebody from the government is flying somewhere. That the same plane had the flight Moscow-Minsk, then Moscow-Brest, and now it has gone to the U.S. So let's wait. Maybe there will be some important news, important changes in the negotiation process. Maybe the Russians are going to concede to Washington. And when Peskov is asked why Putin cannot no longer be seen anywhere on TV, the answer is that
Путіна можна побачити тільки на нарадах на телебаченні, бо він не любить, коли йому заважають. І взагалі, каже Пісков, ми обов'язково постараємося більше показувати, але річ цинічно буде звучати, але я б хотіла побачити похорон їхній з Путіним. Але річ у тому, що все-таки Путін не актор. Я не тут розумію, відсилки до якого актора йде. Це президент працює і не любить, коли йому заважають, коли він веде можливі міжнародні переговори телефоном.
Наразі в світі не розробили таких камер, на яких буде ідеальний зум, щоб на такій відстані його знімати і можна було показати. Що він оператор буде робити. Немає таких зумів, щоб його показати. Важлива інформація для Львова та Львівщини. Сьогодні о 12:45 стартували на Львівському додатковому заводі військові навчання. Всі звуки погоджені, все нормально. Навчання має тривати до 15:00. Будь ласка, не пишіть, не панікуйте, все добре і все під контролем. Також інформація у нас
Резніков звернувся вкотре міністр оборони України звернувся вкотре до усього світу з проханням закрити небо над Україною. Цитують Резнікова, вся Європа розуміє, що вони направляють допомогу Україні, тому що сотні тисяч українців ціною свого життя, життя своїх рідних і навіть дітей стримують агресора від вторгнення на території інших країн, але при тому, каже Олексій Резніков, НАТО відмовляється закривати небо над Україною, хоча аргументів про вбивства, про бомбардування цивільного населення, цивільної інфраструктури є більше, ніж достатньо. З фото в західних медіа видно, як гинуть невинні малесенькі дітки, як обстрілюються дитячі садочки, лікарні. Але, каже Резніков, упереджувальні санкції не були застосовані, всі зараз спостерігають здалека по телевізору, до чого ці вагання призводять. І спостерігати здалека ядерну катастрофу, також погрожуючи, каже Резніков, не вийде. Ваші аргументи про те, що нинішня відмова від впровадження А2-АД пов'язана з тим, що НАТО намагається уникнути ядерної війни, не є переконливим, оскільки Росія вже її розпочала. Знову спекулюють інакше, що це нібито початок Третьої світової, але це вже продовження Третьої світової,
Yeah, I mentioned in the morning that the tactic is now for Russians to fire civilians and in particular in humanitarian corridors. About 200,000 civilians were supposed to be evacuated today. In Lysychansk, there was a firing of the regional hospital for children. So you can see that they are firing the most vulnerable, unprotected part of the society. The armed forces of Ukraine claim that they are ready to protect this country, and you can see the commander of defense of Kyiv is watching and looking and examining the ports, the defense facilities, and everybody is ready to meet the enemy. And for the third day in a row, one Russian column is standing close to Kyiv, not moving anywhere. They have just undermined the bridge. There was an explosion and nothing else. And here are the recommendations. If you see some ammunition which has not yet exploded, here is the recommendation what you have to do. Leave this place, don't get back to this place, but mark this place somehow, keep away from it, make a picture, inform us on the site, and don't touch it, don't move it anywhere. The videos that show that Ukrainians are so much courageous and are taking mines and bombs into their hands, these are fakes, these are disinformation videos. And these mines, when in the hands of people, are already deactivated. So it's not true that you can touch non-deactivated ones. Here is the site of for the international defense forces, and you can spread this information among the volunteers who are ready to come to Ukraine to fight.
долучайтесь до поширення цього сайту. Також Державна служба спеціального зв'язку та захисту інформації України informs you what you have to do in case Ukrainian broadcast has been cut off. You may get free of charge access to Ukrainian TV channels in several ways. Via the satellite TV, because we have a reserve satellite and you can be watching broadcasts. In case anything happens to it, you just switch to the second one. The access is free of charge and you just need a satellite receiver and a satellite antenna. On YouTube, most of Ukrainian channels have their own channels, so if you have quick internet, you may find mobile application or you may enter their web page, and our channel is also there on YouTube, so sign in to watch the news. You really need information and not a picture. That's why try to set the minimum quality of video if your internet is not that good for it to work. Also on LTV, Mega TV, Megagogi, Star TV, All TV, there is access to Ukrainian TV and it's also free of charge, so you may enter it. And there is a radio player UA, install it, listen to it, you have Radio 1 there, also online if you install the application. So use the opportunity, and let me only remind you that Radio 1 and Перший Західний are always free of charge with no restrictions. Because we are working for you and thanks to you.
Так, працюємо 10-ту добу,
Yes, we have been working for 10 days non-stop, round the clock. All our staff, including the heads, program directors, journalists, reporters, makeup specialists, technical director, technical staff, producers, cleaners, broadcasters, presenters. And here is one personal question to you, Stanislav.
Перше, що
The first thing you intend to do after our victory. What is this? I will just have a sound sleep. I will switch off my phone, but before I will do this, I have a list of people whom I will give calls to. I will give calls to my parents, then to some wives of some of our servicemen, because I'm staying in contact with them. I will give a call to guys from Mariupol, from Ternopil, from Odessa, who are staying there round the clock. I know that they have to sleep in full immersion, and they are now hugging not their wife or children, but they are gone. And after that, I will really switch off my phone, my information space, but I also hope that I will buy cheesecake with caramel from Britvan Kasha. I know it's not very good and useful, but it's kind of, well, then you need to take 2 pieces of cheesecake, because I will also join you. Okay, you need to tell me what you will do. I will clean. I will do my house because there is total chaos there. I'm really frustrated by that. Do you guys understand that your mother has given you the task to do up the room? Yeah, they are actually doing this from time to time, and somehow they cope with this. But I will need to do it myself. And the second point is that I will buy a ticket to Kharkiv and will go to Kharkiv, because this is one of the few cities I've never been to. I will go there together with all my children, with my husband, with mother and mother-in-law, and we will definitely go to this square which has been so cynically bombed by the Russians. That will definitely happen. And of course, I hope that I will have a sound sleep as well, at least for some one day. But definitely I will arrange a trip for ourselves to the cities and towns I've never seen before. But I know that these cities and towns will become even better than they used to be. And, you know, I also hope that on the 1st or 2nd of June, we will go to the Imagine Dragons concert in Olympic Stadium, because we didn't manage to get to the Warsaw concert, but the tickets are waiting for us here. And as far as the trip is concerned, we intend to have a summer tour of Ukraine, and it would be a pleasure for me to do this. But we would make this tour more extended, and we will go to Kharkiv as well. Yeah, let's
join us. And those who would like to join us for the 1st and 2nd of June, just write to us. Do you know why I'm asking? Because our journalists asked these residents what they will do right after victory. But for us to understand that this victory is doomed to happen, watch several videos. One from Kherson, please show it on the screen, where a man mounted the Russian tank with the Ukrainian flag. I don't know whether in any single country of the world that could generally have happened. Just show this video if you can do this.
Такі відео лише
So
мотивують
this is a
нас
very
із вами
motivating
тут
video
працювати
for
максимально,
us
докладаючи
to
руки
work
для того, щоб
here,
люди, які там зараз в
to work our
найгарячіших
fingers
точках
to the
відчували
bone for the
нашу з
people
вами
in those
підтримку,
hotspots to really feel our
відчували нашу
support,
з вами допомогу, і
to feel
те, що
our
ми ні на
help,
хвилину не маємо права
and
сумніватися у нашій
we
перемозі.
cannot
І як
hesitate
рівно ж
about our victory
вони
for
нас
any single
мотивують
moment. And they
такими
are
ж
really
діями
motivating
і в
us with the
Херсоні,
same
і в
actions in
Мелітополі.
Kherson, in
Подивимося
Melitopol.
зараз
We will
відеозвіти,
watch a
як
video
люди
from those
протистояли
places,
у
how
блозі
people
цих міст.
resisted the siege of
А
those
після того
cities. And after
послухаємо,
that,
що
we will
львів'яни
listen to
будуть
what
робити
Lviv
першим,
residents
чи
will do as the
планують
first thing
робити першим
after the
після
victory,
нашої із вами
which we will definitely
перемоги.
get.
Як зрозуміло, ми зі Станіславом вже готуємося
We
їхати
are
не
getting
лише
ready
зі
with
Станіславом,
Stanislav, not only with
вибачте,
Stanislav,
з тими людьми, які
for
до
a
нас
trip
доєднаються.
all over Ukraine, a tour of Ukraine together with our families.
На
These
жаль,
will be the
до
cities
цього
which we
часу
haven't
не
seen.
потрапили в Україні. Дивимося про Херсон, Мелітополь і плани львів'ян на перші дні нашої з вами перемоги.
So we will travel to Melitopol, Kherson, and Kharkiv during the first day of our victory. Go back home. Go the F back home. One and only Ukraine.
Буду кричала слава Україні,
I will be chanting glory to Ukraine, that Ukraine prospers, so that we don't have to experience this again. Right now, such simple things have become so important.
just to get together with your family, something that we haven't valued before. I will probably go and take a bath, a warm bath. We will just all embrace and say glory to Ukraine. I will call my friends and we'll go to the best pub in Kharkiv and have some craft beer. I will meet everybody, the boys that are currently helping us. I will move to Lviv. I will go to a cafe and have a cup of coffee with a dessert, alone or with someone, with my friends, of course, who are now defending Ukraine. I want from my kid to see our home again. I will meet my wife and I will give her a smooch. What do you mean? What will happen after the death of Putin? I will drink champagne. I will have coffee. I will travel to Europe. After the victory, my son will get married to his girlfriend, and we will be very happy, and then we will plan our entire future. We have 3 kids. Are you planning for the 4th? We want to travel to the Carpathians together with friends to have a large celebration and meet our family. I will be embracing my relatives. I will be crying. I will be smiling, and I will be very happy. I want to go back home. Where is it? Odessa. I want to go to Crimea again. I was there when I was 5 years old. I will suggest that a girl dates me. All the emotions are now heightened. And that's the best word I can come up with. I will cook some borscht, and together we'll get at the table, and we will be smiling and embracing, eating that borscht. I will be kissing all our soldiers, all our boys.
Ми також поза ефіром з'ясували, що ми не проти обніматися,
While we were off air, we just agreed that we want to embrace and eat some borscht. Stanislav, after the victory, needs to shoot one new program for Громада, and he has to record the new program of the Power of Sport that he is having at the Radio 1 radio station. So we will try to get enough sleep after the victory. We will travel to all the Ukrainian cities we haven't been before. We'll go to our relatives, we'll eat borscht, and we'll have some cheesecake. We will be getting feedback about our plans from our colleagues. Now we are going to be having a longer break. We'll see you at 5 p.m. But should anything happen, we'll be back on air. We are sure that nothing will happen by that time, so come back to us at 5 p.m. In the meantime, have some lunch, have some borscht.
Наша команда тримає інформаційний фронт 24/7. І з вами ми сильні, а тепер іще сильніші. Перший західний розширює мовлення. Тепер наш канал і у цифрі на Т2 для мешканців Львова та довколишніх громад. Якісна картинка і перевірена інформація. Дякуємо, що дивитесь і довіряєте.
Мы пришли вас освободить. Пришли вас освободить.
Сьогодні ти знову написала, що тобі страшно. І я знову попрошу. Ні, сьогодні я накажу відставити боятись. Погладь за мене Бармалея і спокійно лягай спати. До речі, як там Русі в школі? Скажи тату берегти серце і обійняти маму. І взагалі, давайте усміхатися. Ваші силі краса,